Chapter 409. Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian cried out in alarm at the same time. This scene was truly out of their expectations and the two of them did not know what to do. Please copy this address to the browser to see the first page. Tang Zheng was also unable to speak at the moment. He was controlled by a powerful force, and when the red light enveloped him, he was unable to move his entire body. The small snake-like blood quickly covered his entire body, as if adding a layer of outer clothing to him. Every inch of his meridians was corroded, and his brows immediately furrowed, revealing a pained expression, but he was unable to make a sound. My body feels like it's about to be devoured. This heart actually has such a strong power. What should I do now? Tang Zheng thought in panic. Bang bang bang, the heart continued to beat in his palm. Every time it beat, Tang Zheng felt as if his heart had been struck by a heavy hammer. His heart violently contracted and expanded, as if it could explode at any time. No, I have to fight back. I can't die like this. He desperately urged the innate chi to fight against this terrifying power, but it was to no avail. The heartbeat rate of the heart became faster and faster, and Tang Zheng discovered that his own heartbeat had also suddenly sped up, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. He did not admit defeat just like that. He immediately activated the ancient Clear Heaven scroll, and with a boom, it was as if a dam had burst. The pure yang energy exploded and his blood started to boil. The heartbeat slowed down. Tang Zheng was shocked. The pure yang energy that had been bothering him had actually alleviated his crisis, and he felt that the pain in his entire body had lessened by quite a bit. Seeing that the pure yang energy had such a miraculous use, he did not care about the danger of the pure yang energy exploding his body and dying. He continued to circulate the ancient Clear Heaven scroll, the innate chi became more and more, and the pure yang energy also became more and more. All the pure yang energy in his body was mobilized and finally, his heart returned to its normal beating rate. The mysterious heart in his hand was still beating violently, but Tang Zheng's heartbeat could not stop, and did not increase at all. As if the mysterious heart was unwilling, the red light suddenly shone brightly, and the mysterious heart quickly shrank, finally disappearing into Tang Zheng's palm. Hey, where did it go? Not long after, he found where the mysterious heart had gone. It had actually entered Tang Zheng's body, going all the way up from his arm to where his heart was. What is it trying to do? Tang Zheng was extremely nervous. This heart was too strange. It actually ran into his body. Before he could react, the mysterious heart suddenly enlarged. Tang Zheng felt like his chest was about to explode. He opened his mouth wide but no sound came out. Many tentacles grew out of the mysterious heart and immediately attached themselves to Tang Zheng's heart. In an instant, Tang Zheng felt an unbearable stabbing pain in his heart. He finally let out a mournful scream as his body trembled uncontrollably. The mysterious tentacle drilled into Tang Zheng's heart. Then with a flash of red light, Tang Zheng's heart disappeared. No, it didn't disappear. To be more precise, it was devoured by the mysterious heart. The heart swallowed the heart and replaced it. Tang Zheng felt like he was going to die for a moment, and his soul was about to leave his scabbard. But in the next moment he came back to life, but he had already discovered that his heart was gone, and what was beating now was that mysterious heart. Tang Zheng was flabbergasted and staggered back. Hey, I've regained my ability to move again. The red light on his body had already disappeared, and the stone house suddenly darkened. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan could not see clearly what had happened, and immediately asked, Tang Zheng, what happened to you? Tang Zheng did not feel any discomfort in his body. Instead, he felt refreshed and the pain from before had completely disappeared. Hearing their questions, he replied, I'm fine, don't worry. As he spoke, he pointed his finger in the air. With a swoosh, a ball of flame ignited in the air. And my casting speed seems to have increased. Tang Zheng could clearly feel the subtle difference. With a thought, the true fire started to burn, and its reaction speed was much faster than before. Looking at the flames that had appeared out of nowhere, Li Xiaotian was already used to it, and immediately asked, What exactly happened? Where's the heart, where did it go? Tang Zheng pointed to his chest and said, Here. It went into your body? Li Xiaotian was in disbelief, and Yi Yuan also opened his mouth wide in shock. Lord Envoy, is this dangerous? What exactly is the origin of that heart? Tang Zheng shook his head blankly. He could not guess the origin of this heart and said, I don't know either, let's take one step at a time. Jiji. Xiao Bai suddenly jumped up from the ground and stood on Tang Zheng's shoulder, grinning happily. Seeing the little guy's complacent look, Tang Zheng's heart moved. Xiao Bai was quite mysterious since it was not worried, it meant that the heart was not harmful to him, only beneficial. However, he was not sure what benefits there were right now, so he could only slowly explore it in the future. Rumble. Suddenly, the sky and earth shook, and the stone house began to shake violently. What's wrong? Could it be an earthquake? Li Xiaotian cried out in alarm. The three of them were almost unable to stand steadily, and the ground began to shake violently. Let's go, it's dangerous here. It seems like it's going to collapse. Tang Jing brought up the rear while Li Xiaotian took the lead and rushed to the front. This was deep underground. If there really was an earthquake, then they would be buried alive. The three of them were very fast, rushing out like lightning. When they rushed out of the bottom of the lake and saw the pitch-black sky, the three of them finally heaved a sigh of relief. Boom. With an earth-shattering explosion, the location of the lake completely collapsed, revealing a bottomless hole with a diameter of over 1,000 meters. However, the rest of the place was intact. The three of them stared at the big hole with their mouths agape. Li Xiaotian looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression, and said, "Do you think it's because you took away that mysterious heart that this place collapsed?" Tang Zheng laughed bitterly and shook his head. This prehistoric heavenly tomb was too mysterious, his little bit of knowledge was not enough to use. Let's hurry up and leave. With such a big commotion here, don't attract any dangerous enemies. Tang Zheng urged. Long after the three of them and the four divine beasts who had been waiting outside had left, three figures appeared at the entrance of the cave. The three of them were in a very sorry state. They were none other than the demon god and the other two. However, all three of them were wounded, especially Sawada Ichiro. His left arm was wrapped in rags and his face was pale with blood. Lewis looked at the black hole and asked, "What happened here?" The demon god muttered to himself, "We were a step too late, but I felt that something very powerful appeared just now. However, it quickly disappeared, and the aura that flashed by just now was extremely terrifying." "Do you think that kid Tang Zheng came here just now?" Sawada Ichiro gritted his teeth and said. He hated Tang Zheng to the core and was also extremely regretful. Why did he come to Huaxia? Let's go, something seems to be coming. The demon god suddenly looked into the distance. Although he could not see clearly in the darkness, his intuition told him that he was in danger. In the past, the demon god was extremely confident and felt that with his cultivation, he could be considered invincible in the world. However, after coming to the forbidden grounds, he realized that his thoughts were too simple. Although the cultivators of this world had been expelled, for some reason, there were many things that were beyond common sense that seriously threatened his safety. The three of them ran for their lives. After running for a long time, they heard a roar coming from the direction of the black hole. This sound was mixed with anger and made them shudder. "What is roaring?" Lewis asked with fear and trepidation. His previous refined self-confidence had disappeared. Since coming to the 100,000 mountains, he realized that he was a frog at the bottom of the well. No wonder countless powers in the world coveted this country. This country's heritage was really unimaginable. No wonder it was called the mysterious Oriental Pearl. However, these difficulties and obstacles did not make Lewis retreat. Instead, they strengthened his belief that the Rockefeller family must occupy this mysterious land. The demon god's expression was very gloomy and dignified. He looked into the distance and said, "Let's go." Listening to this roar, the other party's strength is very strong. We'd better avoid it and find that kid Tang Jing first. Bang. They had just taken a few steps when Sawada Ichiro was accidentally tripped by something. He fell in a sorry state and grimaced in pain. What the hell is this? He struggled to get up, and the flashlight in his hand shone on the ground. Suddenly he shuddered. Dead people. The demonic god and Lewis also stopped in their tracks and came over. They said, "It's a corpse. Don't be afraid." Lewis kicked the corpse over, revealing its face. "Ah!" Sawada Ichiro screamed. "What are you doing? Why are you yelling? Are you trying to attract the enemy?" The demon god slapped his head and reprimanded him. "Master, I didn't mean that. This corpse." Sawada Ichiro's face was pale as he looked at the corpse's face in disbelief. This corpse was well preserved and did not rot. In fact, this was because the yin energy in the prehistoric heavenly tomb was dense, so the corpse did not rot easily. "What's wrong with this corpse?" Seeing Sawada Ichiro's expression, the demon god and Lewis were very curious. "This is my corpse, Yamamoto's subordinate. They came to Huaxia a while ago and disappeared in the end. I didn't expect them to come here." Originally, Sawada Ichiro still had a glimmer of hope, thinking that his junior brother was definitely still alive in this world. However, after confirming that the other party was here, he instantly lost all hope. "Why is your junior brother here?" Lewis asked curiously. Sawada laughed bitterly. I also just received some news recently. It seems like he found some clues to a treasure, so he must have come to explore. I didn't expect them to come here. This means that your junior brother's clue is correct. Although this place is strange, I can confirm that there are treasures here. Hehe, it's just that most people can only die. How could they have the chance to obtain treasures? The demon god said in disdain. Haha, I finally guessed the purpose of that brat Tang Jing coming here. He definitely knows that there are treasures here, so he came here specifically for them. Brat, how can I let you succeed? All the treasures are mine. The demon god's eyes flickered with a cold light as he muttered to himself. Chapter 410. Tang Jing and the other two did not know that the demon god was following them, and they had already arrived in front of a dark house. Li Xiaotian looked at the black house with a complicated gaze and asked, "What are you doing here again?" Tang Jing was well aware of her complicated feelings. The heaven-shocking bow was discovered by her here, but in the end, it did not fall into her hands. Please copy this address to your browser to see the first page. Didn't you hear from the demon god that the heaven-shocking bow is still lacking sun-shooting arrows? Since you found the heaven-shocking bow here, maybe the sun-shooting arrows are here as well, so I'm going to look for them again. Tang Jing said. Li Xiaotian's eyes lit up, thinking to himself, why didn't I think of this? Previously, I was running around like a headless fly, so I should have come here to take a look first. Now that Tang Jing was here, even if he found the sun-shooting arrows, he wouldn't have a share. Her face became ugly as she glared at Tang Jing and said, if I find the sun-shooting arrows later, you can't snatch it anymore. Tang Jing smiled non-committally, let's find it first. No, I have to make things clear first. I can't beat you right now, so how can I not make things clear first? Moreover, you see that I'm just a weak girl, do you have the nerve to bully me? As she said that, Li Xiaotian stared at Tang Jing with her big watery eyes, looking pitifully at him. Stop. You don't have to use a beauty trap on me, it's useless, who doesn't know how powerful you are? If you're still a weak girl, then there's no one in this world who isn't a weak girl. Tang Jing said. Li Xiaotian chuckled and said, so I'm actually so powerful in your eyes, you flatter me. Seeing that Tang Jing did not promise her, she had no other choice. Creak. The thick and heavy door was pushed open, and a wave of yin qi assaulted his face. The war soul sword in Tang Jing's hand trembled, and crazily absorbed the yin qi between heaven and earth. Previously, the war soul sword and the war soul were injured in the battle, but ever since they entered the prehistoric heavenly tomb, they had absorbed a large amount of yin qi and had already recovered their strength. Yuan, be careful. Tang Jing warned as he crossed the threshold. Don't worry, Lord Envoy. Yuan did not want to retreat, so he became extremely alert. The first thing he saw was an empty hall. The moonlight shone down from the sky, and the light in the hall was very dim. However, he could still clearly see the 3 coffins in the center of the hall. As soon as the 3 of them stepped into the hall, the coffin shook violently. Then, with 3 banging sounds, the coffin lid flew up, blocking their path. The 3 of them reacted very quickly. They tapped their toes on the coffin lid and flipped over. The situation inside the coffin lid immediately entered their eyes. The 3 zombies stood up straight from their coffins and attacked the 3 of them with their arms. Tang Jing and Li Xiaotian had fought zombies before, so they knew how powerful they were. Therefore, with a flash of cold light, Li Xiaotian had already pulled the bowstring of his iron bow. Clang. A sharp arrow hit the zombie's chest, but the sound of metal hitting metal was heard. The zombie was unharmed. Li Xiaotian was shocked. Last time, she had directly chopped off the head of a zombie, but this time, even the arrows could not penetrate their bodies. In addition, she also realized something else. Back then, she had chopped off the head of a zombie, and there were only 2 zombies left. But now, there were still 3 zombies. Could it be that even if these zombies had their heads chopped off, they would still come back to life? Furthermore, the zombie had evolved and its strength had increased by a level. She couldn't help but feel a little lucky. Fortunately, she didn't barge into this place alone. Otherwise, it would be troublesome to be entangled by these 3 fellows. The zombie took a hit and was safe and sound. Its withered arm directly pierced towards Li Xiaotian like a spear. Bang! Li Xiaotian stepped on the zombie's head and rolled backwards in the air. However, the zombie's movements were very fast and it attacked like a shadow. Seeing that the zombie was about to stab into her chest, she cried out in fear. Xiaobai, help her! Tang Jing shouted. Xiaobai opened her mouth and immediately spat out flames. Boom! A flame flashed in front of Li Xiaotian, and the zombie was immediately wrapped in flames. In an instant it began to crackle and burn. The zombie let out a mournful scream, but it did not stop there. It continued to pounce towards Li Xiaotian. Kacha! With a crisp sound, Tang Jing waved the war soul sword and cut off the zombie's neck. Its huge head fell to the ground and continued to burn. Li Xiaoyan's expression was ugly. Her iron bow could not hurt the other party in the slightest, but the other party's head was easily chopped off by Tang Jing's weapon. She stared blankly at the war soul sword. The sword was emitting a blazing black light. She could not help but feel a sense of powerlessness. Could it be that a martial artist was really so weak in front of a cultivator? She took a deep breath and stabilized her mind. However, she was even more determined to obtain a powerful weapon. With a divine weapon, her fighting strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Tang Jing did not care about Li Xiaoyan's thoughts. He waved the war soul sword and fought fiercely with another zombie. His strength was obviously higher than the zombie, and with the help of the war soul sword not long later the zombie was riddled with holes. Relying on the primal chaos golden body technique and his innate divine strength, Yi Yuan trembled with the remaining zombie. In the end, the two of them hugged each other and continuously used their fists to hit each other's bodies. Bang, 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 bang. Ah Yuan, zombies are immortal, don't continue to fight with it. Tang Jing shouted. He chopped off the head of the zombie in front of him, then flew in front of Yi Yuan and killed his opponent. Xiao Bai, burn them with fire. Tang Jing ordered. The zombie from before had already been burned into flames, so this method was obviously the only way to completely kill them. Actually, Tang Jing had also realized that the zombies had already evolved. Although he did not understand why, it was imperative for him to make a prompt decision to completely eliminate them. Li Xiaotian stared blankly at the zombie that had turned into ashes, then looked at Xiao Bai. He could not help but lower his head in dejection. He was actually inferior to a little fellow. He had spent so much effort to kill the zombie, but in the blink of an eye, it was burned to ashes by Xiao Bai. They won't come back to life now, right? Li Xiaotian asked in bewilderment. Definitely not. Tang Jing replied and walked straight towards the three coffins. Li Xiaotian suddenly realized something, and immediately pounced towards one of the coffins, afraid that Tang Jing would discover the shooting sun arrow first. Why is there nothing in the coffin? The three of them were disappointed. After looking through the three coffins they did not find anything. They were empty. Tang Jing did not give up and started to search other places in the house, but this house could be said to be empty, and there was nothing else. Let's go, there's no shooting sun arrow you're looking for. Li Xiaotian said in disappointment. Tang Jing muttered to himself, thinking that the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrows were a set of weapons. Both of them were left behind by Ho Yi. They should not be kept separately, and the shooting sun arrows should be kept in this house. Seeing that Tang Jing did not move at all, Li Xiaotian gloated and said, "Don't waste your time, hee, maybe the shooting sun arrows shouldn't be yours, it's useless even if you hope too much." Squeak squeak. Suddenly Xiao Bai tilted his head and thought for a while. He sniffed hard with his little nose, then pointed at the coffin and shouted. "Xiao Bai, what's wrong?" Tang Jing looked at it in confusion. Little White squeaked non-stop and gestured at the coffin with all its might. Tang Jing's heart moved, and he rushed towards a coffin with large strides. Placing both of his hands on top of the coffin, he used all of his strength and pushed with all his might. Move! It was unknown what material this coffin was made of, but it was actually incomparably heavy. Seeing that, Yi Yuan also hurriedly helped, and the two of them used their strength at the same time. Creak creak. The coffin slid backwards bit by bit against the ground, revealing the floor beneath the coffin. This floor was very different from the other pitch-black floors, emitting a faint light. Li Xiaotian stared at the floor with her mouth agape. She immediately realized that there was something under the floor, and as expected, Tang Jing slashed down with his sword, the floor shattered, and 3 arrows flew into the air. Tang Jing reacted quickly and immediately grabbed the 3 arrows. The 3 arrows buzzed non-stop as if they were alive. "This is shooting sun arrows?" Li Xiaotian said in a daze. Tang Jing felt a surge of power coming from his hands. It was definitely extremely powerful. These 3 arrows were definitely shooting sun arrows without a doubt. Li Xiaotian immediately regained his senses and pounced towards the other coffin, using all of his strength to push the coffin, but the coffin creaked a few times but did not move at all. Her strength was obviously not enough to push the coffin. Her face immediately became uglier than crying, while Tang Jing and Yi Yuan looked at her with a smile that was not a smile. "Continue, we're watching." Tang Jing kept the shooting sun arrows into his summer bag and said with a smile, "You all? Too shameless. You know that I'm a woman and don't have much strength, but you don't know how to help me?" Li Xiaotian said without curiosity. "If we have help, then the shooting sun arrows will be ours." "No way." Li Xiaotian immediately hugged the coffin, like a tigress protecting her calf. The shooting sun arrows below are mine, no one can take them away. The key is, do you have any way to push open the coffin? Li Xiaotian bit his lips, speechless. Yuan, let's push the other coffin. Tang Jing called out, and together with Yuan, they pushed open the other coffin, broke open the ground, and as expected, obtained 3 more shooting sun arrows. Without a doubt, there were definitely 3 shooting sun arrows under the last coffin. Back then, Hui had shot down 9 golden crow, which meant that there were 9 shooting sun arrows. Li Xiaotian also thought of this point, and was even more unwilling to give up on the 3 shooting sun arrows, as he protected the coffin with all his might. You can't go on like this. In any case, with your own strength, you won't be able to push it away, and you won't be able to obtain the things below. Tang Jing said. If I can't get it, I can't let you get it either. Li Xiaotian pouted and said in a fit of pique. Tang Jing rolled his eyes. It seemed that this woman was still unable to let go of the heaven-shocking bow, but of course he could not ignore the 3 shooting sun arrows. He had an idea and said, I have a way. Chapter 4:11. What can you do? Li Xiaotian looked at him nervously, afraid that he would use force. In this place she was not a match for Tang Jing at all, and it was even more impossible for her to leave him. Otherwise she would not be able to walk out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb, so she was especially concerned about Tang Jing's attitude. Of course it's the best of both worlds. Tang Jing said while beaming, let's split the shooting sun arrows below. You take 1, I take the other 2. No, this is clearly mine. Why should I give it to you? Li Xiaotian said without hesitation. Tang Jing shrugged his shoulders and said, since you don't agree, then you can continue hugging it. Let's see when you can obtain it. Li Xiaotian was speechless. This was the predicament she was facing. With her own strength, she could not even obtain a single shooting sun arrow. She hesitated for a moment, then said, I want 2 shooting sun arrows, I can only give you 1. Tang Jing spread out his hands and said, then there's no way to talk about it, you can continue hugging it. Do you even have the slightest bit of a gentleman's style? How can you be so calculative with a woman like me? Li Xiaotian said snappily. You're not a woman in my eyes. Tang Jing had long since experienced Li Xiaotian's black-bellied nature, and in the depths of his heart, he really did not treat her as a woman. Although she was beautiful, she was much more threatening than other men. She could not allow Tang Jing to be careless in the slightest. Hearing that, Li Xiaotian could not help but feel angry and said, am I not beautiful enough? Tang Jing laughed and said without answering the question, you should hurry up and make your decision. Stop stalling for time, baby, we still have other places to go. Li Xiaotian bit his lips, thinking in his heart, he had no choice but to lower his head under the eaves. He was not a match for Tang Jing, and now he had to rely on him. If he pushed him too far, what if he killed him and stole it? After all, the shooting sun arrows were too powerful and tempting. Okay, I promise you. I want 1 shooting sun arrow and the other 2 are yours. Li Xiaotian loosened his grip and retreated to the side. Tang Jing and Yuan pushed open the coffin together and took out 3 sun-shooting arrows. Li Xiaotian immediately grabbed one of the sun-shooting arrows and held it tightly in his arms, as if he was afraid that Tang Jing would snatch it away. You only have the sun-shooting arrows. Without the heaven-shocking bow, what use do you have? Tang Jing said. Who said I don't have a bow? Although this bow isn't a heaven-shocking bow, it's still a good bow. Li Xiaotian took out the iron bow on his back and pulled the bowstring. The shooting sun arrow had a flowing light on it, and a heart-palpitating power rushed out. Li Xiaotian was delighted, but she did not shoot it out. She had already sensed the power of this arrow. There's only 1 shooting sun arrow. You have to take good care of it. Otherwise, if you shoot it out once, there won't be any left. Tang Jing teased. Li Xiaotian rolled his eyes and said, you don't have to worry about that, the mountain man has his own plans. As he spoke, he took out a thin thread and tied it to the tail of the shooting sun arrow, then carefully kept the shooting sun arrow. Tang Jing suddenly realized that she could reuse an arrow in the past. So she was doing the same thing and he had worried for nothing. Where are we going now? Li Xiaotian said. Tang Jing had been in the prehistoric heavenly tomb for so long, but he did not find any traces of Tianquanzi, so he could only continue to go deeper. Actually, the prehistoric heavenly tomb was very big. Last time he had only reached the edge of the prehistoric heavenly tomb and did not go deep inside. He guessed that Tianquanzi must have gone deep into the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Since a super demonic beast had appeared, then Tianquanzi was probably not as safe as he thought. He had to find him as soon as possible so that they could take care of each other after meeting up. In addition, his trip to the Forbidden Grounds this time was mainly to find the mystery of the Witch clan being imprisoned in the 10,000 huge mountains. Now that he had found nothing, he could not stop here. Continue forward, towards the heart of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Tang Jing said without hesitation. You've already obtained the shooting sun arrow, aren't you leaving this place? This is not a good place, it's too dangerous. Li Xiaotian said with lingering fear. If you want to leave, then leave first. I still have things to do. Tang Jing did not waver at all. What exactly do you have to do? Li Xiaotian asked curiously. Tang Jing shook his head and walked out of the house without saying a word. Yi Yuan quickly followed, and the two of them, one beast and one stone statue, walked towards the heart of the prehistoric heavenly tomb with large strides. Li Xiaotian looked at the other party's back with a complicated gaze, and muttered to himself, I barely escaped from the encirclement of the demonic beasts outside the prehistoric heavenly tomb. If I were to recover now, I might not be able to safely pass through. Furthermore, Tang Jing is so mysterious, he must have some unspeakable secret. I can't leave, I have to follow him and see what his goal is. Wait for me. After making up his mind, he shouted and chased after her. Why aren't you leaving? Aren't you afraid? This trip is a 9 out of 10 chance of survival. Tang Jing joked. Li Xiaotian rolled her eyes at him and said, If you're not afraid, what am I afraid of? How can my courage be smaller than yours? Tang Jing laughed and said, Then follow me. Their speed was very fast, and by dawn they had already traveled a long distance. Along the way they saw an incomparably bleak and lifeless atmosphere. The ground was dark and bare. Not a single blade of grass grew. It was lifeless, and there wasn't even a trace of wind. Only the bright moon hanging high in the sky was looking down at them, giving off a strong sense of oppression. Fortunately, the three of them did not encounter any more enemies after traveling for an entire night. However, the surroundings were strangely quiet. Other than the sound of their footsteps, there was no other sound. As the sky gradually brightened, the three of them stopped to eat breakfast. Tang Jing had filled his summer bag with a lot of food, at least he was not hungry. How much longer do we have to go? Li Xiaotian asked. I don't know. Let's rest for a while and continue forward. Tang Jing said, and then the three of them sat down to rest for a while before continuing on their journey. The three of them had profound skills. Although they had been traveling for an entire night, they were still in high spirits. Taking advantage of the dawn, they continued to move forward. Not long after, a tall mountain appeared in their line of sight. This mountain peak was extremely tall and straight, as if it had pierced into the clouds and was connected to the heavens. It made people feel as small as an ant in front of it. Even the tall four symbols venerable one was exceptionally small in front of this mountain. In addition, this mountain was incompatible with the surrounding environment. This was the strangest part. Although the wind was blowing in the prehistoric heavenly tomb, the temperature was not low. It could be considered hot. After all, this place was located in the subtropics. Although it was winter and the temperature was quite high, the mountain was covered in white snow from the top to the bottom. It was a stark contrast to the surrounding dark ground. What kind of mountain is this? Li Xiaotian asked in surprise. Buzhou Mountain. Tang Jing blurted out. Li Xiaotian and Li Xiaotian looked at him in surprise at the same time. Li Xiaotian asked, How did you know? Tang Jing was also stunned. When he heard Li Xiaotian's question, the three words Buzhou Mountain suddenly came out from the bottom of his heart. Before this, he did not know the name of this mountain at all. I don't know either. Tang Jing was at a loss. This name suddenly came out of my heart. How could this be? Why didn't we think of this? Li Xiaotian retorted. Tang Jing looked at the towering mountain, and suddenly a sentence appeared in his heart. Buzhou Mountain, the mountain of heaven and earth, connects the heavens and the earth. Relying on this mountain, you can reach the sky beyond heaven. This mountain can lead to the sky beyond heaven. Tang Jing was shocked by these words and was speechless for a long time. Li Xiaotian saw his flabbergasted expression and hurriedly asked, What's wrong with you? What's going on? Tang Jing immediately regained his senses, and did not tell her the information regarding the Buzhou Mountain, because it was simply too shocking. If this Buzhou Mountain could lead to the sky beyond heaven, wouldn't that mean that the people of the sky beyond heaven could also use this mountain to return to the mortal world, and not use the demon god's vicious mountain river blood sacrifice array? Tian Chanzi wants the cultivators to return. Could it be that he has already entered the Buzhou Mountain and is implementing the method to let the cultivators of the sky beyond heaven return? Tang Jing was shocked by his own thoughts and said, Let's hurry up and enter the mountain. Regardless of whether Tian Chanzi was implementing this plan or not, he had to quickly enter the mountain and find Tian Chanzi. Otherwise, when the cultivators returned, there would be a large-scale bloodbath. What are you doing in the mountains? Li Xiaotian asked curiously. Tang Jing did not reply, but instead rushed towards the Buzhou mountain. Yi Yuan and the 4 symbols venerable ones quickly followed. Li Xiaotian snorted in dissatisfaction, and also chased after them. Although Mount Buzhou was not far away, the 3 of them took almost half a day to reach the foot of the mountain. Look, there's actually such lush vegetation on this mountain. Li Xiaotian pointed at the trees and grass under the snow, extremely surprised. Ever since they entered the prehistoric heavenly tomb, everything had been a desolate scene, especially when they reached the center of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. There were no longer any plants, not a single blade of grass grew. However, this Buzhou mountain was actually lush with vegetation. The contrast was too great. There must be a demon behind this abnormality. The 3 of them were already on guard. Up the mountain. Tang Jing stepped onto the Buzhou mountain without hesitation, and when his feet landed on the white snow in that moment, Tang Jing felt the temperature around him suddenly change from hot to bone-piercing cold, causing him to involuntarily shiver. He hurriedly channeled his innate qi to disperse the chill. Li Xiaotian shivered, hugged his arms and said, "What the hell is this place? There's actually such a big difference between us? It's too cold, I can't take it." Li Xiaotian was wearing very thin clothes. Previously, her clothes had been torn into pieces by the 3-headed flood dragon, and in the end she found a set of clothes from her backpack to change into. Only then did she cover her exquisite body that was only wrapped in the heavenly silkworm treasure armor, but she did not prepare any thick clothes. "Tang Jing, don't you have a sumeru ring? Do you have thick clothes inside?" Li Xiaotian asked. Tang Jing found a set of his own thick clothes, and Li Xiaotian hurriedly wrapped it around his body. He looked at him bitterly and said, "I really don't understand you cultivators, you're actually not afraid of the cold." With Tang Jing's cultivation he had already reached the realm of being impervious to cold and heat, so he naturally did not care about this bit of cold. After this small interlude, the 3 of them continued to walk up the mountain. The cold wind blew non-stop and the snow was very thick. The 3 of them did not move quickly, but with the 4 symbols venerable leading the way, there was not much of a problem. Unknowingly the sky darkened. Chapter 412. The black cloud floated over very quickly, and in the blink of an eye, everyone felt that the sky had darkened. Tang Jing stared straight at the black cloud and couldn't help but frown. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat and he exclaimed, "Everyone be careful." Crack. A bolt of lightning lit up in the black cloud. With a loud sound, the lightning streaked across the sky and descended towards the crowd. The 3 of them dodged to the side at the same time. With a boom, the ground was struck, and the pure white snow instantly melted and evaporated. The ground was charred black, and the vegetation was completely destroyed. "What's going on?" Yi Yuan turned pale with fright. Li Xiaotian seemed to have thought of something as well and exclaimed, "It's that thing we encountered last time." Back then, when she and Tang Jing escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, they had encountered a black cloud. Furthermore, lightning flashed within the black cloud, forcing them into a sorry state. The 2 of them had barely escaped death, but they never thought that they would meet such a ruthless character the moment they arrived at Mount Buzhou. "Tang Jing, what should we do now?" Li Xiaotian asked in a daze. "Don't worry, I'm here for it," Tang Jing said fearlessly. He had once suspected that there was a super demonic beast in the black cloud, but since the 4 symbols venerable was by his side, he was not too worried about it. "You came for it? Are you crazy?" Li Xiaotian found it hard to believe. Tang Jing did not care about her surprise. With a tap of his foot, he directly jumped onto the 4 symbols venerable's body. Squeak squeak. Xiao Bai cried out and also jumped up like a shadow. He stood on the 4 symbols venerable's shoulder, and bared his teeth at the black cloud in the sky, full of provocation. Looking at Tang Jing and Xiao Bai's fearless expressions, Li Xiaotian could not help but roll his eyes and muttered, "This pair is truly audacious, I wonder how they will end this." Of course, Tang Jing wasn't worried about the end result. After he entered the 4 symbols venerable's chest, he waved his hand and roared, "Kill!" The punch flew straight into the sky. There was still some distance between the punch and the black clouds, but this distance was completely covered by the power of the punch. A power invisible to the naked eye passed through space and arrived in an instant, bombarding the black cloud. Boom! With a loud bang, the black cloud started to tremble violently. Lightning flashed non-stop. Roar! Suddenly, a furious roar erupted from the black clouds. The lightning in the black clouds rapidly condensed together like a sharp sword, descending from the sky and landing on the 4 symbols venerable. The lightning enveloped the 4 symbols venerable. Tang Jing felt the temperature around him suddenly rise, but he was not injured. Xiao Bai, on the other hand, was enveloped in flames, completely blocking the lightning. The lightning disappeared, and Xiao Bai continued to grin at the black cloud. A deafening roar came from the black cloud, and an invisible pressure covered the sky and covered the earth. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan felt as if they were being pressed down by 1,000 kilograms of boulders, and their breathing uncontrollably quickened. The heaven horse was even more uneasy as it spun around on the ground, its 4 hooves constantly digging at the soil on the ground. Tang Jing also felt the pressure, but with the protection of the 4 symbols venerable, the pressure was much smaller and he was not afraid at all. He shouted loudly, "Xiao Bai, attack!" Xiao Bai was obviously not afraid of the black cloud, he had long been ready to attack. Hearing the order, he raised his head high and opened his small mouth. Boom! Flames spewed out from her small mouth. In the blink of an eye, the sky was dyed fiery red by the flames. The black clouds were also dyed fiery red, as if the clouds had been ignited. Roar! One after another, furious roars came from the sky. Black clouds churned and lightning flashed, as if something was churning within the black clouds. Kacha! Lightning fell. This time the lightning was very dense. It was like a fine rain pouring down, covering an area of several hundred meters. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan were shocked and immediately dodged. However, this kind of indiscriminate attack made it impossible for them to hide. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Tang Jing's voice came out from the 4 symbols venerable's body, and then the 4 symbols venerable raised both of its arms, blocking all of the descending lightning. Its entire body was enveloped by the lightning, and the electric current crackled non-stop. This time the electric current was too strong. Even though Tang Jing was hiding inside the 4 symbols venerable's body, he still felt a shudder. "Eat my fist." Tang Jing roared and fought back with all his might. The 4 symbols venerable's huge body tapped on the ground, and soared into the sky. The black cloud was not floating very high to begin with, as if it was above everyone's heads. Therefore, when the 4 symbols venerable soared into the air, he punched the black cloud. Boom! A loud sound rang out as thunder rumbled within the black cloud. Furthermore, a bolt of lightning descended from the sky, completely enveloping the 4 symbols venerable. Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian stared at this scene with their mouths agape. They never thought that the 4 symbols venerable's huge body would actually have such a good jumping ability. Whiz! A white figure flashed past. The moment the 4 symbols venerable struck the black cloud, Xiao Bai followed its arm and rushed into the black cloud. Immediately the black cloud churned violently. Lightning and fire intertwined, covering the sky above everyone's heads. Furthermore, angry roars and Xiao Bai's squeaking sounds rose and fell one after another. Tang Jing felt all the hairs on his body stand up. The last bolt of lightning made him feel rather uncomfortable, and he wondered what kind of monster was hiding in the black cloud, to not be completely defeated even after taking such a heavy punch from him. Thunder rumbled in the sky and even the ground began to tremble. The black clouds dissipated bit by bit as did the flames and lightning. In the end, when the black clouds completely disappeared, a huge black object floated in the air. This gigantic creature had a pair of wings, and when it spread out its wings, it was dozens of meters wide like a curtain in the sky. In addition, this monster's entire body was pitch black, and its body was covered with scales that glowed with a dark luster. However, the only exception was its forehead, where there was a silver-white lightning mark in the middle of its forehead, which was exceptionally eye-catching. It was rolling in the sky as if it wanted to get rid of something. Tang Jing's sharp eyes immediately saw a white figure on its head. This guy was of course Xiao Bai. Its 4 claws tightly grabbed onto the monster's scales, and when it opened its small mouth, it actually bit onto the scales. Blood flowed out from the corner of its mouth and sprinkled down from the sky, as if it was raining blood. "Humans, you guys are so big. How dare you trespass on Buzhou Mountain?" The monster opened its mouth and spoke in human language. Now Tang Jing was not very afraid of it and said, "We are looking for someone. Have you seen a middle-aged man with long hair?" After the old man Tian Chanzi was reborn, his body was that of a middle-aged handsome uncle. "So you are in cahoots with that cunning guy." The monster glared and roared. Tang Jing's eyes lit up and said, "You have seen him, where is he?" "He fled into the mountains, he must be dead." The monster said. "Dead?" Tang Jing was startled for a moment, and then shook his head in denial. "Tian Chanzi is incomparably cunning, and his strength is not weak, it is impossible for him to die. Daring to enter Buzhou Mountain, death is certain." The monster said disdainfully. "If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would never believe it." Tang Jing said. The monster still wanted to refute, but it let out a heart-wrenching scream. It fell from the sky and crashed to the ground, smashing countless rocks and debris. It kept rolling on the ground, and wherever it passed, it was razed to the ground, trees fell and rocks shattered. Tang Jing was very clear about its purpose. It wanted to throw Xiaobai off its head, but Xiaobai was like a plaster sticking to its head, making it helpless. "What is it? Why is it not afraid of me?" the monster asked angrily. Tang Jing smiled bitterly. "If you know what it is, please tell me, because I don't know." Even the five-clawed golden dragon did not know the origin of Xiaobai, so Tang Jing did not hold this hope for the time being. However, seeing Xiaobai's fearless appearance, Tang Jing was quite gratified. This little guy's strength seems to be a lot stronger than before. It seems that with the passage of time, it is rapidly growing. This time, it can actually contend with this monster. Li Xiaotian was stunned as she watched Xiaobai and the monster fight. She thought that the difference between their bodies was so big, but they were still able to suppress the monster. It was really incredible. She looked at Tang Jing again and thought to herself, where did he find such a pet? It is too powerful. Little by little, the outcome of the battle was decided. The lightning mark on the monster's forehead was constantly emitting lightning, attacking Little White's body. At this moment, Little White's body was burning with flames, blocking the lightning. In the end, the ground was a mess, stained with blood, and the monster's body was suffused with a black light. Suddenly, the light flashed and the monster's huge body quickly shrank. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it became the same size as Xiaobai in a short time. It was also firmly pressed under the feet of Xiaobai. This time, even Tang Jing was surprised. This huge monster can actually shrink freely from such a big size to such a small size. It is too amazing. Xiaobai proudly raised its head, like a victorious general, and winked at Tang Jing. Tang Jing looked at its clown-like appearance and couldn't help but praise, "Xiaobai, you are really amazing." Xiaobai nodded his head seriously as if to say, "Your eyes are not bad. I will accept this praise." "Xiaobai, is it still in danger?" Tang Jing asked carefully. Xiaobai patted the monster's head. The monster seemed to understand what it meant, drooped its head and said dejectedly, "I admit defeat, I admit defeat." Xiaobai released its claws. The monster stood up and looked at Xiaobai resentfully, then looked at Tang Jing, who had already come out of the Four Symbols Venerable's body. "Little guy, what kind of demonic beasts are you?" Tang Jing heaved a sigh of relief and asked curiously. "Thundercloud beast." The monster was very unwilling, but when it saw Xiaobai's glance, it hurriedly said, "Thundercloud beast, it is indeed quite an image. It can move through the clouds and release lightning. Are there any other thundercloud beast in this prehistoric heavenly tomb?" This was a crucial question. If there were other thundercloud beast and Xiaobai defeated one, it would be equivalent to poking a hornet's nest. If other thundercloud beast were to rush over, then his manpower would not be enough. Chapter 413. The thundercloud beast pouted in grievance, obviously not wanting to answer Tang Jing's question. But with a crisp sound, the thundercloud beast's little head was slapped by Xiaobai. The thundercloud beast immediately said obediently, "No, I'm the only thundercloud beast in this prehistoric heavenly tomb." Tang Jing heaved a sigh of relief and asked again, "What's so special about this Buzhou mountain that you actually said that you would definitely die if you went in?" "There are very powerful existences in the Buzhou mountain. Of course they will die if they go in. Even I don't dare to go in," the thundercloud beast said with lingering fear. "You've never been in either?" Tang Jing was extremely surprised. "Of course, my duty is to guard the Buzhou mountain and not allow anyone else to enter. Of course I can't go in myself either," the thundercloud beast said. "Didn't you say you were a guard of the Buzhou mountain? Then why did Tianquanzi escape into the mountains?" Tang Jing asked curiously. "Who is Tianquanzi?" the thundercloud beast asked curiously. "The person you said escaped into the depths of the Buzhou mountain. So it's him. His name is Tianquanzi." Indignant anger immediately appeared in the eyes of the thundercloud beast. "He is a cunning fellow. When I wasn't paying attention, he slipped in. I couldn't enter the mountains to chase after him, so I could only watch as he broke in. This is my dereliction of duty." With that, the thundercloud beast lowered its head, looking extremely vexed. Tang Jing's heart moved and said, "Since Tianquanzi has gone in, then let's hurry up and follow him." "No way." The thundercloud beast immediately jumped up, pouted its mouth and bravely blocked everyone's path. "My duty is to protect the Buzhou mountain and not allow anyone to take a step in. I can't let you in. Someone has already gone in. This is already considered a dereliction of duty. Moreover, you've guarded the Buzhou mountain for so many years, have you never thought of going in to take a look? Tang Jing asked. The thundercloud beast shook its little head without thinking. Obviously, it had never considered this problem before. However, when it thought of its dereliction of duty, the thundercloud beast's expression immediately became very depressed. Xiaobai, let's go. Ignore it. Tang Jing walked up the mountain with large strides. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan quickly followed. The thundercloud beast wanted to stop them, but it knew that it was no match for them, so it could only stand aside helplessly like a defeated soldier. Xiaobai squeaked twice and patted the thundercloud beast's head, signaling it to follow. Then it swaggered to catch up with Tang Jing. The thundercloud beast was very unwilling, but it did not dare to resist. It seemed that it had suffered quite a bit at the hands of Xiaobai, so it was rather afraid of him. Tang Jing turned around and glanced at the thundercloud beast that was following them like a tail. He smiled and continued to move forward without saying a word. Since the thundercloud beast said that there was an existence in this mountain that even it was afraid of, then it was definitely not an ordinary character. Could not be careless. This great battle was earth-shattering. The loud sound had long since spread far and wide within the prehistoric heavenly tomb, and the three of them also heard it. Just as the three of them crawled out of a tomb, the demon god had a large blade in his hand. His expression was extremely excited, his face flushed red, he kept stroking the large blade and said with a trembling voice, "Magic dragon blade, I actually found the magic dragon blade. Legend has it that this is the blade of a supreme expert demon dragon from the ancient era. It is a heaven-level divine weapon. I never thought that I would be able to obtain it so easily." The demon god raised his head to look and licked his lips, unable to hide his excitement. There were many stone monuments erected on the vast and desolate land. Beneath each stone monument was a tomb. Each tombstone had the name of the tomb owner engraved on it. Most of them were names that the demon gods had never heard of before. Previously, when he accidentally discovered that the owner of this tomb was called Mo Long, he was immediately overjoyed. He had heard of this name before, it was a supreme expert from the ancient era, but he did not expect it to be buried here. There were many legends about this Mo Long. It was said that ever since he started out, he had never tasted defeat. Countless experts had died at his hands. One of the most important reasons why he was able to do this was because he had a magic treasure called the magic dragon blade. Seeing this tomb, the demon god immediately thought of the magic dragon blade, so he did not hesitate to pry open the tomb. These supreme experts would usually bury their magic treasure along with them. As expected, there was a skeleton in the tomb. It was definitely the magic dragon. In addition, a large blade was floating beside the skeleton. It was the magic dragon blade, and the demon god did not hesitate to take it for himself. He found the magic dragon blade in the tomb. This heaven-level magic treasure was extremely important to him, especially at this moment. Tang Jing had the protection of the four symbols venerables, so the demon god would not be able to take advantage of him. However, with this magic dragon blade, his strength would increase greatly. However, just as the three of them climbed out of the tomb, they heard a loud noise in the distance. The three of them were shocked and looked into the distance. They could vaguely see a mountain that seemed to reach the clouds. The three of them looked at each other and Lewis said suspiciously, "What happened over there? Why is there such a big movement? It's like an earthquake." Sawada Ichiro said with a pale face, "Could it be that Tang Jing brat? Could it be that they met a strong enemy?" As he said this, his expression became more and more excited, hoping that Tang Jing would meet a strong enemy and die. The demon god thought for a moment and said, "It's most likely related to him. Let's quickly follow them. There are so many tombs here, so there must be a lot of treasures. Are we just going to ignore them?" Lewis looked at the tombs longingly, hoping that he could find a suitable weapon in one of the tombs. The demon god coldly snorted and said, "That brat Tang Jing came here regardless of the danger. He must have a big plan, who knows what kind of treasure he came here for. If we let him get here first, we will be in a passive position, we must immediately chase after him." The demon god had given the order, so the two of them did not dare to disobey. They could only reluctantly leave the tomb and head towards the direction of the sound. Wow, this mountain is really high. The three of them arrived at the foot of Mount Buzhou. Looking at the towering peak, they could not help but sigh. It's really high, but how come I've never heard of such a majestic mountain here? Now that technology was advanced, how could such a mountain escape the detection of modern technology? There was indeed no information related to this mountain in this world. Lewis knew many famous mountains and rivers in the world, but this mountain was not one of them. The demon god looked at Mount Buzhou with a serious expression and said, "Do you think it's an ordinary mountain? Could there be something strange about this mountain?" The demon god's eyes were deep as he stared at Mount Buzhou. He muttered, "This mountain is not as simple as you think. Because I feel a mysterious aura from the mountain. Moreover, the scenery on the mountain is out of place with the surroundings. How can this be an ordinary mountain?" With such a reminder, the other two really focused their attention on Mount Buzhou. Sawada Ichiro said in surprise, "Hey, why is the scenery on this mountain so different? It's actually covered in ice and snow." "Strange." "What's strange about this? This is an enchantment, do you understand? With an enchantment, this mountain is equivalent to another world. Of course, the scenery is completely different. However, who set up this enchantment? This mountain is so big. Such an enchantment is not something an ordinary person can set up." The demon god sighed. "Then, are we still going up?" "Of course." The demon god looked up the mountain. Suddenly, his eyes turned cold as he stared at the mess in the distance. He thought of something and said, "It must be Tang Zheng's group that went up the mountain. However, I don't know what kind of enemy they encountered to make such a big commotion. Look, there are footprints over there. They're the footprints of the four symbols venerable." Lewis pointed at the huge footprints in the distance. The human footprints had disappeared, but the footprints of the four symbols venerable were still very clear. The three of them immediately rushed up and found that the footprints extended from the foot of the mountain to the top. When they passed by the messy battlefield, the three of them did not look very good. Just by looking at the charred battlefield, they could imagine how fierce the battle was. What kind of enemy did they encounter? Lewis said as if he was talking to himself. The demon god snorted and said, "Since they've already left here, it means that the enemy has been eliminated. No matter who the enemy is, there's nothing to worry about." The demon god gained a lot of confidence after obtaining the demon dragon saber. The three of them did not stay for long and continued forward. After a while, the footprints disappeared and they lost track of their target. The three of them looked at each other and did not know what to do. "What should we do?" The demon god did not know what to do. However, the disappearance of the footprints was too strange and he was confused for a moment. No matter where they went, they're in this mountain. They can't run away. Chase. The three of them could only rush forward like headless flies. The three of them rushed to the top of the mountain for a while but found that the top was still far away. There was no trace of Tang Zheng's group. The demon god stopped and looked at the void in front of him and said, "No, there's a barrier on this mountain. If we can't break through the barrier, we can't reach the top at all. There must be treasures hidden at the top of the mountain. Tang Zheng's group used some kind of method to break through the barrier." The void in front of him was within reach and there was nothing blocking it. The demon god stared at the void without blinking. Lewis and Sawada Ichiro looked at him curiously and asked, "How can we break through the barrier?" "To break through the barrier, of course we have to use human lives as a medium." The demon god's eyes flashed with a sinister look. He moved as fast as lightning and grabbed Sawada Ichiro's neck. "One of your arms is gone. You've become disabled. It's useless to leave you in this world." With a flash of the saber, Sawada Ichiro's neck was cut open. Blood gushed out and shot into the void in front of him. However, the blood did not fall but floated in the air. The demon god did not blink. He quickly made hand seals and hit the void one by one. In an instant, the void trembled violently. Sawada Ichiro covered his neck with both hands. Blood flowed through the gaps between his fingers. His eyes were wide open and he kept groaning. Sawada Ichiro looked at the demon god in disbelief. He did not expect the demon god to cut his neck without hesitation. In the end, his life was completely gone. At this moment, there was a crisp sound in the void, and the scene in front of him changed dramatically. Author's digression. Happy New Year, everyone. Chapter 4:14. The demon god and Lewis didn't even look at Sawada Ichiro, who had lost his life, as if he was just an insignificant ant. They were staring at the void in front of them. When Sawada Ichiro's life was completely exhausted, there was a crisp sound in the void, and the scene in front of them changed dramatically. The blood in the void disappeared and the snow in front of them disappeared. It was as if they had come to a new world in an instant. The birds were singing, the flowers were fragrant, the grass was lush, the sun was bright, the sky was blue and the clouds were white. It was like a painting. The demon god and Lewis couldn't help but be stunned. They looked at each other and Lewis exclaimed, "This is amazing." Although the immortal vampires had many abilities that they were proud of, they definitely didn't have this kind of ability. In Lewis's eyes, this was almost a miracle. The demonic god also had a look of shock on his face as he said, "This is simply a new world. Amazing, truly amazing." The two walked into the garden full of spring, and the mountain disappeared. A warm feeling came from all directions. "Demon god, where should we find them?" Lewis asked. The demon god was also at his wit's end. He said, "Take your time. They can't just disappear into thin air." Tang Zheng and the others couldn't just disappear into thin air. They had encountered the 2 or 3 wards before, but it didn't stop them. It wasn't because of the Thunder Cloud Beast, because the Thunder Cloud Beast didn't enter the mountains at all, and didn't know about the wards. Tang Zheng had a magical feeling again. Without any warning, he knew how to open the wards. With just a few simple hand gestures, the scene in front of him suddenly became clear, and there was no need to use life as a medium. This scene shocked the Thunder Cloud Beast, and it stared at Tang Zheng with its round little eyes. Li Xiaotian directly asked Tang Zheng if he had been here before, and why he could call out the name of Buzhou Mountain before, and why he could open the wards so skillfully now as if he had returned home. Of course, Tang Zheng could not answer this question. This was the mysterious heart's question. The answer seemed to have been stored in his heart for a long time. Just by touching the scene, the answer immediately popped out. Yi Yuan, on the other hand, did not have any objections. In the eyes of the witch clan, Tang Zheng was an omnipotent person, and these miraculous methods were all natural abilities. The few of them didn't dwell on this issue and immediately stepped into another world. A spring breeze brushed past their faces, making them feel refreshed. However, Mount Buzhou was fraught with dangers at every step, so they didn't dare to be careless. Even the thundercloud beast stretched out its head, swaying left and right, looking around like a curious baby. Obviously, this was the first time the little guy had entered the depths of Mount Buzhou, so he was full of curiosity about everything. "Where are we going?" Li Xiaotian asked. Tang Zheng looked at the beautiful scenery in front of him and said, "I don't know. Let's walk and see." The few of them walked for a long distance. Suddenly, a small courtyard appeared in front of them. They immediately stopped in their tracks and looked at the small courtyard warily. This courtyard was completely made of bamboo. It was incomparably green and the courtyard door was tightly shut. It was impossible to see what was going on inside. "Lord Envoy, are we going in?" Yi Yuan asked. "Of course." Tang Jing muttered to himself for a moment, then carefully walked over and pushed the courtyard door with both of his palms. With a creak, the courtyard door was pushed open. There was no danger. Everything was quiet. Tang Jing immediately stepped into the courtyard, and the other two also walked in like shadows. Only the four symbols' venerable's body was too huge, and stood outside the courtyard door. "Who is it?" Suddenly an angry roar sounded out. The three of them stopped in their tracks at the same time and looked towards the direction of the voice. They saw a person standing in the courtyard, but his back was facing them. Hearing this voice, Tang Jing raised his eyebrows. He was overjoyed and shouted, "Tian Chanzi, is that you?" This voice was too familiar. How could Tang Jing forget it? So he recognized it with just one sentence. "Tang Jing, it's you. Why are you here?" Tian Chanzi did not turn around but asked loudly. But before Tang Jing could reply, Tian Chanzi shouted in panic, "Brat, hurry up and leave this place, otherwise it will be too late." "What's too late?" "Tian Chanzi, what are you talking about?" Tang Jing was confused. Li Xiaotian stared at Tian Chanzi without blinking. She had never seen Tian Chanzi before, but she had heard of his great name and knew that he was Tang Jing's powerful master. Seeing that Tian Chanzi did not move at all, Li Xiaotian suddenly had a bad premonition and shouted, "Tang Jing, there's danger, quickly retreat." After being reminded, Tang Jing finally realized that something was wrong. Firstly, Tian Chanzi was a very steady person, and had never spoken in such a panicked tone. Secondly, ever since he saw Tian Chanzi he had not moved at all, like a puppet, which was definitely not normal. "Ayuan, quickly leave this courtyard." Tang Jing shouted as if he had just woken up from a dream. With a tap of his foot, he flew backwards without looking back, wanting to leave the courtyard as quickly as possible. Little White and the Thunder Cloud Beast were not slow either. The two little guys quickly rushed out of the courtyard. Before the three people and two beasts could retreat to the entrance of the small courtyard, their movements came to an abrupt halt. It was as if they were immobilized, unable to move. "Ah, why can't I move?" Li Xiaotian cried out in shock. "Lord Envoy, I can't move either." Yi Yuan's expression changed slightly. Tang Jing's face darkened. He became serious like never before and said, "I can't move either. Everyone don't panic, let's figure out the situation first." Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the two little fellows beside him. Xiao Bai bared his teeth and squeaked non-stop, unable to move. The Thunder Cloud Beast pouted its mouth and growled, "I already said that Buzhou Mountain is very dangerous, but you guys didn't believe me. Now you know that I didn't lie to you. Zai Brat, you guys are too careless. You guys didn't even understand the situation and dared to barge in." Tian Chanzi said in annoyance. Xianxia, don't be sarcastic. Aren't you also unable to move? What exactly is going on? Why did all of us become like this? Tang Jing asked in a deep voice. Do you still remember the drawing ground prison formation that I told you about before? Xianxia asked. Of course I remember. Tang Jing's heart moved. Could this be the use of the drawing ground prison formation? Yes, it's just that this formation is too secretive. It must have been done by a formation expert, even I was deceived. Xianxia said. Then what should we do now? We can't just be trapped like this forever, right? If no one comes to kill us, we'll starve to death. Li Xiaotian said with a sullen face. Ever since she had seen the world of cultivators, Li Xiaotian felt that her knowledge was becoming more and more insufficient. Just like now, she had no idea what to do and could only ask for help. Which girl is this? Tang Jing, you brat, everywhere you go there are girls. Not bad, it seems that my teachings are really useful. Xianxia said with a laugh. Li Xiaotian's face was slightly red, thinking how could this master speak like this. Tang Jing didn't know whether to laugh or cry, saying, Xianxia, don't talk nonsense, hurry up and tell me what to do now. Xianxia said unhappily, if I knew what to do, I wouldn't have been trapped until now. Your cultivation is so high, don't tell me you don't have a way? Tang Jing was shocked. Isn't this nonsense? I already told you that you can't trespass, this is all your own fault. The thundercloud beast said with schadenfreude. Xianxia heard this and exclaimed, why is that thundercloud beast's voice, why is it here? Could it be that you were also trapped by the drawing ground prison formation? It's me, you despicable human, you slipped away from under my nose, now you know that you've suffered a big loss. The thundercloud beast said. Xianxia couldn't turn around, so there was no way to see the situation behind him, but he also knew how powerful the thundercloud beast was. He almost suffered a loss in front of the thundercloud beast, and finally escaped with great difficulty. He didn't expect that the thundercloud beast would chase after him, and obviously come with Tang Jing. Xianxia was full of doubts and quickly asked, Boy, what is going on? The thundercloud beast was subdued by Xiaobai, so it came here with us. Tang Jing replied. Xianxia was slightly startled and then immediately laughed. Ha! Xiaobai is actually so powerful, I already said that you are not simple little guy, and it is true. Of course it was not simple, even the 5-clawed golden dragon was shocked by Xiaobai's momentum, so it didn't seem particularly strange that the thundercloud beast was subdued by Xiaobai. Xiaobai heard this, proudly raised its little head, and seemed to understand that Xianxia was praising it, and then proudly pointed at the thundercloud beast with its mouth. The thundercloud beast was like a little wife who had been wronged, dejected. The thundercloud beast has lived in this mountain for a long time, maybe it knows how to get out. Xianxia said. I don't know. The thundercloud beast said without hesitation. Besides, even if I know, I won't tell you. You trespassed on Buzhou Mountain, now you know how to suffer. Buzhou Mountain, little guy, you said this mountain is called Buzhou Mountain? Xianxia heard the 3 words Buzhou Mountain, and loudly exclaimed. Haha, this is Buzhou Mountain, I was wondering why this place was so strange, so it turned out to be the famous Buzhou Mountain. Buzhou Mountain is a divine mountain that has disappeared for many years, I didn't expect it to be here. Buzhou Mountain is connected to Sky Beyond Sky, enter this mountain we can go to Sky Beyond Sky, or let the people from Sky Beyond Sky return to this world through this mountain. Xianxia chattered, talking to himself, and was very excited. Tang Jing already knew this and deliberately concealed this from Li Xiaotian, but he didn't expect Xianxia to suddenly expose this point. Tang Jing's face slightly changed, it was too late to stop, because he found that Li Xiaotian had already opened her eyes wide. She already knew the demon god's plan to let the demon clan return from Sky Beyond Sky, and deeply understood that if the demon clan or other cultivators returned to this world, it would have a great impact. Her face had completely changed, but she didn't say a word, but her eyes kept flashing. Seeing this, Tang Jing secretly screamed. Li Xiaotian didn't say a word, she must be thinking of countermeasures. Chapter 4:15. Xianxia was still very excited, completely unaware of Li Xiaotian's little calculations, and continued to chatter. Since we found Buzhou Mountain, then from now on, this world belongs to the cultivators. Xianxia, you should think of a way to leave this place first. Tang Jing interrupted him and said. Xianxia said without care, we will naturally think of a way, what are you worried about? It seems that all of this is the will of the heavens. The Buzhou Mountain that has disappeared for countless years has reappeared. This is destined to let the cultivators return to this world. Hearing this, Li Xiaotian's face became more and more unsightly, his lips trembled a few times, but in the end he did not say anything. Seeing this, Tang Jing sighed inwardly, thinking that she must have made up her mind. This time when she returned, the Li Palace's attitude would change. Maybe they would stand together with the martial organization and jointly resist the cultivators. In addition, the Azure Dragon store that had always been elusive would also join this army. At that time, the world would really be in chaos. Little brat, why do I feel that there is something outside the courtyard? The shadow is so tall, what is it? Xianxia saw the tall shadow beside him and asked suspiciously. It is the witch clan's guardian god, the Four Symbols Venerable. Four Symbols Venerable? Xianxia sucked in a breath of cold air. The Four Symbols Venerable also appeared, so the witch clan's guardian god you mentioned before is actually the Four Symbols Venerable. This is too unexpected, haha, this is really the heavens helping me. Obviously, Xianxia also knew of the great name of the Four Symbols Venerable. Hurry up and tell this big guy to make a move, break this circle prison formation. Xianxia said excitedly. Does it have the ability? Of course it does. You little brat really underestimated the strength of the Four Symbols Venerable, and also overestimated the power of the circle prison formation. The circle prison formation is only effective against people who enter the formation. It has no effect against people or things outside the formation. Xianxia explained. Oh, that means we have a chance to escape. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. With a thought, the Four Symbols Venerables also moved. Like an earthquake they kicked the courtyard door. Boom. The courtyard door remained unscathed, but the Four Symbols Venerable actually took a step back. Tang Zheng was shocked. What's going on? Who dares to destroy my courtyard? A crisp and angry shout rang out. This voice was very young and tender. A figure flashed and everyone saw a person walking out of the house. First it was a pair of short and small feet. The few of them were stunned for a moment. Why did it look like a child's legs? It was indeed a child. A 7 or 8-year-old boy swaggered out. His pink and tender face was filled with anger. His pair of big eyes swept around, but it gave people a sense of majesty. Which one of you dares to destroy my courtyard? The boy asked angrily. Strange. I've been trapped in this courtyard for so many days, but I didn't notice that there was actually a living person in this house. Instead it's a child. Xianxia clicked his tongue in wonder. He seemed to be shocked by this scene. You're the child? The boy retorted disdainfully. You're so small. Aren't you a child? We're not blind. Xianxia was not afraid of him at all and said jokingly. If you call me a child. Do you think I'm still a child now? As soon as he finished speaking, the child disappeared and was replaced by a middle-aged man. This was the transformation of a child in the blink of an eye. Tang Zheng stared at this middle-aged man, flabbergasted. Xianxia also stared at him as if he had seen a ghost. This middle-aged man looked exactly like Xianxia. It was as if they were cast from the same mold. There was no difference. You. Xianxia turned pale with fright. However, he quickly calmed down and said, it's just an illusion. Is it an illusion? The middle-aged man spoke. His voice was exactly the same as Xianxia's. If it's an illusion, have you ever seen such a realistic illusion? Then he went straight to Xianxia. Their eyes met. Xianxia wanted to distinguish the difference between himself and the other party, but in the end he found that it was futile. The other party was exactly the same as him, and he couldn't help but feel a little frightened. Illusions could indeed reach the level of being able to pass off as real, but Heaven Monk had never seen such a realistic illusion before. Furthermore, to be able to escape his fiery eyes crystal, this was definitely not an illusion. How did you do it? Xianxia asked in a deep voice. The other party smiled and didn't answer. He said to himself, you finally know that this is not an illusion. Then he patted Xianxia's cheek. I don't remember how many years it has been since a guest came here. I'm really bored here alone. Now that I have you guys, my life will definitely be much more interesting in the future. You will become my dolls. I love dolls the most. Who are you? Xianxia asked in horror. He gradually found that he couldn't understand the other party at all. What's my name? Let me think. I haven't been asked for my name for many years. I've almost forgotten it. The other party tilted his head and pondered. After a long time he patted his head and said, I remember now. I'm called the 100 Faces Star Lord. Yes, that's the name. Fortunately you asked me this question. Otherwise, I'm afraid that after tens of thousands of years, I would have forgotten this name. Tens of thousands of years? Everyone was shocked by his words. Inferring from this, he had actually lived for tens of thousands of years? What's the fuss about this? I've been here for who knows how many years, at least tens of thousands of years. The 100 Faces Star Lord said indifferently. A few people were secretly speechless. If that was the case, then this person was from the ancient era. Those who could still survive in that era were definitely not nameless people. It was just that these people were ignorant and inexperienced and had never heard of his name. It seems that you guys definitely don't know my name. Anyway, this isn't the point. The point is that you guys will be my dolls in the future. Hee, with you guys accompanying me, it will definitely be very interesting. I can't wait to play. How do I play? I got it. The 100 Faces Star-Lord pondered for a while. Then he walked in front of Tang Zheng and looked at Li Xiaotian. He clapped his hands and said excitedly, I remember that a long time ago I played a game called Playing House. You two just happened to be playing house. After saying this, he waved his hand. Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian flew up from the ground and stood face to face. Li Xiaotian's face turned pale with fright. He cried out, What are you doing? Tang Zheng, hurry up and stop him. Save me. Tang Zheng bitterly smiled. If only he had a way to stop him, then that would be great. He had already circulated the ancient clear heaven scroll countless times, and his true chi flowed through his body over and over again, wanting to break free from the imprisonment of the drawing ground prison, but he found that it was completely useless. Don't be noisy. This game is very interesting. The 100 Faces Star-Lord said unhappily. Li Xiaotian's voice immediately disappeared. She found that no matter how she opened her mouth to shout, there was no sound at all. But the two of you have to change your clothes. The groom and the bride must have their own clothes. This way the celebration will be official. After the 100 Faces Star-Lord finished speaking, Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian's clothes changed. They became the clothes of the ancient groom and bride. Tang Zheng even wore a tall hat on his head. This kind of costume could only be seen in ancient dramas. It was a bit funny, but the people involved couldn't laugh. Instead, they felt a deep fear. When a person's body was controlled by someone else, this fear came from the bottom of their heart and went deep into their bones. Looking at the flustered and pale Li Xiaotian, Tang Zheng wasn't in the mood to gloat. Although Li Xiaotian's appearance was rarely seen in 100 years. I can't just go through the wedding ceremony with her like this, Tang Zheng thought. Although he couldn't move his body, he wouldn't give up just like that. As such, he shouted, For Symbols Venerable, attack. The 4 Symbols Venerable charged toward the small courtyard. His huge body was several times taller than the courtyard, so his charge was extremely powerful. The small courtyard began to tremble. The 100 Faces Star-Lord raised his head and stared impatiently at the 4 Symbols Venerable. 4 Symbols Venerable, what an annoying fellow. Scram to the side. Following his loud roar, a water screen appeared on the courtyard wall out of thin air. Boom. A loud sound rang out as circles of ripples appeared on the water screen. However, it wasn't damaged at all. The 4 Symbols Venerable, on the other hand, was shaken and forced to take a small step back. I told you this big fellow wouldn't be able to ruin my plans. You two continue. First, bow to the heavens and earth. The 100 Faces Star-Lord shouted. Afterward, Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian bowed toward the distant sky. Second, bow to the elders. There aren't any elders. Their parents aren't here either. Forget it, this old man is the oldest. Let him be the elder. The 100 Faces Star-Lord pointed out casually, and Tian Chanzi moved horizontally in front of the two. Then the two bowed toward him. Tian Chanzi's expression was extremely interesting. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, Tang Zheng, you brat, you finally bowed to me. This little girl isn't bad. She's quite pretty. It's not a loss to be your wife, but it's a loss to my good disciple. Oh well, with me as your master in the future, my disciple will naturally be your wife. This little girl can just be a concubine. Li Xiaotian's eyes seemed like they were about to spit fire. She glared at Tian Chanzi furiously. In her heart, she had long since cursed Tian Chanzi's 18 generations of ancestors. You're the concubine. Your whole family are concubines. However, she couldn't say anything. She could only express her anger with her eyes. However, this didn't work on Tian Chanzi. She glared fiercely at Tang Zheng and thought to herself, Tang Zheng, you heartless person. Hurry up and think of something. Do you really want to cook the rice and truly bow to the heavens and earth? Tang Zheng didn't have such thoughts. When he saw Li Xiaotian's eyes that looked like she wanted to eat someone, he didn't have the heart to tease her. However, he really didn't have a good idea. He could only urge the 4 Symbols Venerables to attack the water screen over and over again. However, what shocked Tang Zheng was that the water screen's resistance to attacks was too strong. Under the powerful attacks of the 4 Symbols Venerables, the water screen only trembled continuously. It didn't collapse at all. After bowing to the elders, it's time for the husband and wife to bow to each other. Wow, this is so fun. The 4 Symbols Venerables excitedly clapped his hands. However, he was in Tianqianzi's appearance. This childlike clapping seemed very awkward no matter how one looked at it. Li Xiaotian was on the verge of tears. She looked at Tang Zheng with a heart like dead ashes. She was the holy maiden of the Li Palace. The Li Palace had its rules. The holy maiden of the Li Palace was not allowed to marry, not even in a formal wedding. Thus, if she really did complete this set of etiquette with Tang Zheng, it would be equivalent to her betrayal of the Li Palace. Chapter 416. Li Xiaotian had lived in the Li Palace for as long as she could remember. Although she was very black-bellied, she still had a standard in her heart, and that was to never betray the Li Palace. The Li Palace was her home, her roots. The 100 Changes Star Sovereign's game was tantamount to uprooting her roots, so how could she not panic? Seeing the unprecedented panic and despair on her face, Tang Zheng glanced at the 4 symbols venerables out of the corner of his eye. Distant water could not put out a nearby fire. Suddenly his gaze fell on Xiaobai and an idea came to him. He shouted, "Xiaobai, breathe fire and burn him." Xiaobai was ready to take action. Hearing this order, it opened its small mouth and spat out a stream of flames. Boom! The flames soared into the sky and attacked the 100 Changes Star Sovereign. The 100 Changes Star Sovereign was originally dancing with joy and was extremely excited. Seeing the flames coming at him, he was truly frightened and hurriedly jumped away. The flames swept over his head and went straight for the house behind him. This house was completely made of green bamboo and would ignite upon contact with the flames. With a flash of fire, the house became a volcanic sea of fire. The 100 Changes Star Sovereign looked at his house in astonishment, then looked at the smug Xiaobai. Instantly he was furious and roared, "You dare to burn my house? I will skin you and pull out your tendons." Squeak squeak. Xiaobai was not afraid at all. He grinned at the 100 Changes Star Sovereign and barked twice. "I don't want to." Suddenly the thundercloud beast spoke for no reason. Squeak squeak. Xiaobai barked twice more. The thundercloud beast seemed to have given in. It said in an aggrieved tone, "Fine then. If you only know how to bully me." As soon as he said that, the lightning mark on the thundercloud beast's forehead lit up. With a thunderous crack, the lightning leaped out from the thundercloud beast's forehead to attack Star Monarch Multiform. "You actually dare to attack me." The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign dodged, and the lightning accurately struck the house. With a rumbling sound, the house completely fell apart, turning into ruins. "Thundercloud Beast, aren't you supposed to be the guardian of Buzhou Mountain? How dare you team up with them? I'll take care of you first." Multiform's face turned green with anger as he glared at the beast with bulging eyes. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign transformed back into a child. Clearly this was his original form. He waved his lotus root-like hands, causing a pillar of water to shoot up into the sky, aiming for the Thundercloud Beast. Brr. The Thundercloud Beast roared and fought back. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The small courtyard was immediately covered by lightning. 9 lightning balls floated around it. Each lightning ball emitted a bolt of lightning that interweaved into a large net, blocking the water column's attack. Petty tricks. I'll let you know how powerful I 100 Change Star Lord am." The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign gently pointed his finger. The water column suddenly transformed into a ferocious beast. It opened its bloody mouth and directly swallowed the Thundercloud Beast and the 9 lightning balls into its stomach. In an instant, the water column transformed into a ferocious beast. Its body flickered with dazzling lightning. "Gigi!" Suddenly Xiaobai angrily cried out. Its eyes were scarlet red. With a swoosh, its entire body was covered in flames. Xiaobai opened its small mouth and cried out. However, its cry was not as loud as the Thundercloud Beast. It seemed that even if it used all its strength, it would not be able to make a loud cry. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign disdainfully said, "Little guy, I'll deal with you now." With that, the ferocious beast opened its bloody mouth and bit at Xiaobai. "No!" Tang Jing turned pale with fright. He quickly shouted to stop it. However, he could not move at all. Even if he shouted until his throat was broken, it was useless. When the 100 Transformation Star Sovereign saw their panicked looks, she giggled and danced with joy. "Haha, this is what happens when you don't play games with me. However, with you dolls accompanying me in the future, it seems that these days are not bad." Xiaobai was also swallowed by the ferocious beast. Tang Zheng's face became incomparably pale. He and Xiaobai had been together for so many days. Their relationship had always been good. He couldn't accept the fact that Little White was gone just like that. 100 Transformation Star Sovereign, I'll kill you. Tang Zheng went crazy. The true qi in his body boiled. His body emitted hot steam. His skin became incomparably red. Even his eyes were red. Hee, you dolls are angry. Good. I love to see others angry. I'm the happiest when others are angry. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign clapped her hands and shouted excitedly. You dare to kill my Xiaobai? I want you dead. An angry roar came out from Tang Zheng's throat. The air around Tang Zheng also started to ripple, and circles of ripples quickly spread outwards. Seeing him like this, Li Xiaotian turned pale with fright and shouted, Tang Zheng, what happened to you? However, Tang Zheng acted as if he did not hear it at all. His skin became redder and redder, and the steam rising from his body became more and more intense. Yi Yuan shouted, Lord Envoy, Lord Envoy. Whoa! Tian Chanzi also shouted, but he was sealed by the 100 Transformation Star Sovereign and could not speak. He could only anxiously look at Tang Zheng wanting to stop him, but had no way to do so. However, the bottom of his heart was like an ant on a hot pan. He anxiously thought, this is bad, this brat has already activated all of the pure yang energy in his body. His body will explode and he will die. Tang Zheng had indeed detonated the pure yang energy in his body. The pure yang energy had fused with the innate qi, causing the innate qi in his body to reach an unprecedented level. He was like a balloon. There was too much air in the balloon, and it was extremely likely that it would explode immediately, causing him to be finished. But Tang Zheng could not care less. All of them were under control, and Xiaobai had been swallowed by the ferocious beast that the other party had created. Therefore he had completely lost the wolf. His anger quickly ignited, and he took the initiative to detonate the pure yang energy. Boom! A loud sound came out from Tang Zheng's body, his body quickly lit up with a red light, and then his hands actually recovered their movement. With a wave of his hands, the War Soul Sword appeared in his hands, and he held the sword with both hands, causing the aura of heaven and earth to rapidly change. The War Soul Sword flashed with a black light. This light was extremely sharp, causing people to involuntarily feel fear in their hearts. Li Xiaotian's face was pale white. She looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. She had already forgotten to speak. She was unable to describe how she felt towards Tang Zheng at this moment. He was like a towering mountain, making her feel very small. This was a feeling she had never felt before. At this moment she felt an instinctive fear towards Tang Zheng, a fear that came from her soul. Tian Chanzi's eyes lit up and exclaimed in his heart, Good boy, the pure yang energy has completely exploded, and he has actually comprehended the fourth move of the heaven-flying immortal, heaven falls and earth rends. Kill. Tang Zheng roared and the War Soul Sword slashed down. Boom. An earth-shattering sound rang out, dust flew everywhere, and the courtyard immediately turned into ruins. The ground beneath his feet immediately cracked and a bottomless crack appeared. The water curtain outside the courtyard also collapsed, and the ferocious beast that the water pillar had transformed into also exploded into droplets of water with a loud cracking sound. Two small figures jumped out from the water droplets. Jiji. Xiaobai and the thundercloud beast did not die, and both sides used their own voices to express their anger. I can move now. Suddenly, Li Xiaotian cried out in surprise, followed by Yi Yuan's cheers. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng's move, Heaven Falls and Earth Rends, had directly destroyed the array formation of the drawing ground prison, and everyone had escaped. Amidst the smoke and dust, Heaven Monk regained his freedom, but he did not act rashly. Instead, he looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated gaze. He did not expect that after Tang Zheng detonated the pure yang energy, he would be able to temporarily escape the imprisonment of the drawing ground prison. His hands regained the ability to move, and then he activated the fourth move of the heaven-flying immortal, allowing everyone to escape. The heaven-collapsing earth-shattering move could destroy the array formation, but the Heaven Monk was not surprised, because although the array formation was powerful, it could only trap the enemy when they were not paying attention, and the defensive power of the array formation was not strong. Tian Chanzi was surprised that Tang Zheng could actually escape after being imprisoned by the drawing ground prison. This was out of his expectations. To break through the drawing ground prison, one's strength had to be much higher than the controller of the array. However, it was clear that Tang Zheng's cultivation was worlds apart from the 100 Transformation Star Lords, yet he was able to do this. Tian Chanzi did not even need to think to guess that this was definitely the effect of his 9 Yang holy body, which was also the mystery of the 5-clawed golden dragon Skywalker. No wonder the 5-clawed golden dragon was so afraid of Tang Zheng's identity as a Skywalker. This brat truly has a lot of things that go beyond common sense. He is simply a miracle maker. Tian Chanzi sighed in his heart. My soul survived for 1,000 years before I met him. In the past, I always thought that meeting him was this brat's fortune. Now that I think about it carefully, meeting him was actually a huge opportunity for me. Although I was not a nameless person in the cultivation world, I was still far from those almighty figures. After meeting this brat, perhaps my opportunity has truly changed. In the future, I might even become one of those almighty figures that I yearn for. No one knew about Xianxia's complicated thoughts at this moment. They were all looking at Tang Zheng. He had become the center of attention. And Tang Zheng was still holding his sword with both hands as he stared at the dust cloud. Cough cough. Suddenly, a coughing sound came from the dust cloud. The 100 Transformation Star Lord's voice rang out again. However, this time the young voice was mixed with gloominess and anger. You actually broke my drawing ground prison and ruined my game. I will chop you into pieces and bury you in this Buzhou mountain, so that you will never be reincarnated. The dust cloud dissipated and the scene in front of them became clear. They saw that the place where the War Soul sword had slashed had turned into a large pit, and the one standing at the bottom of the pit was the 100 Transformation Star Lord. His clothes were tattered and his pink little face was purple and green. He was in a very sorry state. Moreover, his eyes were burning with raging anger. The 100 Transformation Star Lord flew up. Without any movement, he lightly stood on the ground and floated in the air. The atmosphere between heaven and earth changed in an instant. Chapter 417. Seeing the 100 Transformation Star Sovereign in such a sorry state, the aura he emitted caused everyone to be shocked, not daring to underestimate him in the slightest. Your sword technique is not bad, but if you want to kill me, you are still too lacking. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign gritted his teeth and said, Since you do not want to be my puppets, then there is no need for you to exist in this world. You want to kill us? Now that we have regained our freedom, let's see if you have the ability to kill us. Xianxia stood proudly with a long sword in his hand. Tang Zheng temporarily reverted to his wolf form and stared at the long sword in Xianxia's hand. His eyes lit up as he said, Xianxia, you actually changed your weapon. Xianxia proudly said, Of course, this is a heaven-grade treasure I found in the tomb. It is many times better than the Ghost General's ghost head blade. Brat, your pure yang energy has completely erupted. Quickly suppress it, otherwise you will explode and die. Tang Zheng helplessly smiled bitterly and said, My pure yang energy has completely erupted. I have no way to suppress it. Xianxia's expression slightly changed as he sighed and said, Then let's first deal with this 100 Transformation Star Sovereign and then think of a way. Li Xiaotian looked at the two blankly. He really did not understand what was going on with the pure yang energy. Tang Zheng looked so powerful now, but why did it sound like he was in great danger? Stop talking nonsense, kill. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign swooped down from the sky. With a wave of his hand, the sky was suddenly filled with raindrops. The raindrops fell rapidly like thousands of rain swords rapidly falling. Killing intent filled the entire space. Brr. Tang Zheng shouted and rose from the ground. The War Soul sword pierced straight into the sky, stirring up the rain of swords. However, Xianxia also rose into the air. His long sword pierced into the sky silently, as if there was no power behind it. Despite that, the rain of swords in the sky stopped in an instant as if a body immobilization spell was cast on them, causing them to stop steadily in mid-air. Li Xiaotian was flabbergasted as she watched the battle unfold. Ever since she started practicing martial arts, she had never seen a battle of this level. The majestic aura and killing intent caused her heart to tremble. All sorts of feelings welled up in her heart as she looked at Tang Zheng, increasingly feeling the gap between them. This Buzhou mountain is connected to the sky beyond heaven. When I return, I must convince the palace master to ally with the martial sect and stop the cultivators' plan. Because cultivators are really too powerful. Yi Yuan's expression was very excited. Obviously, the more powerful Tang Zheng was, the more honor he would feel. In mid-air, Tang Zheng and Xianxia joined forces. Both of them were using the sword art of flying immortals from beyond the sky, but Xianxia was clearly superior. With a series of explosions, the rain of swords that filled the sky turned into nothingness. However, the 100 Transformation Star Lord's methods were not limited to this. With a flash of water, a gigantic water monster suddenly appeared in the sky. This water monster had many tentacles that quickly slapped towards the two of them. Boom, boom. With two loud sounds, Tang Zheng was caught off guard and was slapped to the ground. Xianxia relied on the sword in his hand to block the attack. Seeing that, the 100 Transformation Star Lord chuckled. I already said that you guys overestimate yourselves. If you want to go against me, dream on. With that said, the tentacles of the water monster attacked once again. Countless tentacles of various sizes swarmed over. Tang Jing, hurry up and retreat. Your power is still weak, you are not their match. Xianxia had already seen that Tang Jing had taken a blow just now, causing his blood to surge up and blood to flow out from the corner of his mouth, so he hurriedly reminded him. I can't retreat. Tang Jing stepped forward with his sword and slashed out, cutting off several tentacles. However, he was still hit by a few tentacles and was sent flying far away. Xianxia's expression suddenly changed and he shouted, Eat my sword. Holding the sword with both hands, he slashed out. In an instant, the sword in Xianxia's hand shone brightly and transformed into a gigantic sword. Boom. The gigantic sword slashed the water monster's body and many of the tentacles disintegrated and broke apart. Then Xianxia's figure flashed and immediately stood beside Tang Jing. He asked with concern, How are you? I won't die. The 100 Transformation Star Lord is too powerful. We are no match for him. Let's retreat first, Tang Jing said. There is no way to retreat now. Besides, although Mount Buzhou is the passage to Sky Beyond, we don't know how to get there. Maybe we can only find out if we capture the 100 Transformation Star Lord. Mount Buzhou has disappeared for countless years, and the 100 Transformation Star Lord lived here. I'm afraid it has something to do with it, so we can't retreat. Xianxia gritted his teeth and said firmly. Well, Xianxia, then I'll play a big game with you this time. Isn't it just exploding and dying? Let's have a good fight first. Tang Jing said fearlessly. He had already felt the pure yang force in his body running amok. He could explode and die at any time, but at this juncture he couldn't care less. Xianxia, watch me. I'll use the 4 symbols venerable to fight with him. Tang Jing rose from the ground and rushed into the body of the 4 symbols venerable. Xianxia's eyes lit up and he muttered to himself, Boy, you're really something. You even took the 4 symbols venerable for your own use. Then I'll also fight with the 100 Transformation Star Lord with my old life. It's just that I can't see his specific cultivation. It's really troublesome. Xianxia and Tang Jing couldn't see through the 100 Transformation Star Lord's cultivation, which showed that the strength of the 100 Transformation Star Lord was very terrifying. It should be known that since Xianxia entered the 100,000 mountains, his cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds due to the abundant spiritual qi. He had recovered to the 9th level of the Gold Core realm, which was equivalent to the 9th level of the Supreme Power realm. This showed that the 100 Transformation Star Lord was at least a master of the Yuanying stage. When the 100 Transformation Star Lord saw Tang Jing get into the body of the 4 symbols venerable, he said in surprise, I didn't expect you to really subdue the 4 symbols venerable. Back then, the 4 symbols venerable followed Qiyu to fight all over the world. How glorious was that? I didn't expect it to fall into your hands. You're so weak that you don't deserve to have the 4 symbols venerable. The 4 symbols venerable has no thoughts, so he can be my puppet and companion. You want to snatch the 4 symbols venerable? Dream on. Tang Jing shouted and controlled the 4 symbols venerable to attack. He directly punched the water monster in the sky. The water monster trembled violently and turned into raindrops all over the sky. It was completely destroyed. The 100 Transformation Star Lord saw this and his face turned ugly. He said, Your strength is indeed impressive. However, compared to the strength of the 4 symbols venerable, this is simply child's play. Since it's child's play, I'm not interested in playing with you. The 100 Transformation Star Lord's body flashed and a phantom suddenly appeared around him. However, everyone immediately realized that this was not a phantom but a real person. The 100 Transformation Star Lord turned from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 4. Soon the sky was filled with 100 Transformation Star Lord. Every one of them looked exactly the same. Xianxia's face changed slightly. He said, These are not phantoms but real doppelgangers. Aha, of course. This is my 1000 doppelganger technique. Can the 2 of you fight against so many doppelgangers of mine? Let me tell you, I'm not called the 100 Transformation Star Lord for nothing. The 100 Transformation Star Lord said proudly. Everyone suddenly realized that the so-called 100 Transformation Star Lord was not completely transforming into someone else's appearance. Instead, it was because he had countless doppelgangers. Fighting against him was equivalent to fighting against a large army. The difficulty level of the battle increased exponentially. So what if you have doppelgangers? I'll still beat you up. Tang Jing shouted fearlessly. He waved his fist and punched the doppelgangers. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions rang out. Many doppelgangers were shattered, but new doppelgangers were formed. Therefore Tang Jing's attacks were all in vain. Xianxia's expression changed when he saw this scene. How could he attack like this? However, even if his attacks were ineffective, he had to continue attacking. Therefore, Xianxia used the Flying Immortals Beyond Heaven sword technique without hesitation. This time, his treasured sword turned from 1 to 2 and from 2 to 4. In an instant there were tens of thousands of them. They were endless. These swords pierced towards the doppelgangers. The doppelgangers immediately blocked. They formed a water shield in front of them. Some of these shields were shattered by the swords. The doppelgangers behind them were pierced and exploded. However, some of them were lucky enough to escape. However, new doppelgangers immediately replaced them. Therefore, Xianxia's attacks were still in vain. However, Xianxia was not discouraged. This was because he discovered a pattern. The doppelgangers that were pierced were the furthest from the center. Only the doppelgangers in the center of the army were lucky enough to survive. Tang Jing attacked the center. That's his main body. Only by attacking his main body can the doppelgangers be defeated. Xianxia reminded. Okay, let's attack together. Xiaobai, Thundercloud Beast, you guys attack together. Tang Jing gave the order and took the lead to charge out. Xiaobai and Thundercloud Beast followed like shadows. They directly jumped onto the body of the four-symbol Star Lord and attacked the doppelgangers from above. Gotcha. Lightning intertwined and flashed. Boom. Flames filled the sky and flickered. The four-symbol Star Lord clenched his fists and smashed down from above. The air in the sky was rapidly split to two sides. A formless and terrifying force smashed towards the center of the doppelgangers. Sixth move of Transcendent Flying Immortals. One Sword Immortal. Xianxia shouted and used the most powerful move of the Transcendent Flying Immortal sword art. At this moment, the radiance of the long sword was completely withdrawn. It appeared simple and unadorned. It was a plain stab without any fancy moves. It seemed to be weak and had no aura at all. It made people doubt the power of the sword. However, no one noticed a well-hidden 100 transformation Star-Lord's expression suddenly changed. This was the true body of the 100 transformation Star-Lord. He thought to himself, this sword technique is really strange. It's already returned to its original state. The power is completely compressed in this sword, and not a single bit of it is exposed. Moreover, the power of this punch that the brat controlled the four divine symbols to attack is also extraordinary. I've really underestimated them. I've been trapped in Mount Buzhou for so many years, but these later generations are actually so outstanding. The others did not know what the 100 transformation Star-Lord was thinking. They only had one thought, and that was to defeat the 100 transformation Star-Lord. Therefore they used all their skills. Tang Jing's body was already emitting bursts of explosive sounds. His body was already on the verge of collapse, but he still gritted his teeth and made sure that this punch was his strongest attack. Chapter 418. Sword, Fist, Fire, Lightning. The four attacks combined into one. The heaven and earth changed color, and the powerful aura caused Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan to involuntarily retreat out of the courtyard. The two of them looked up at the sky at the same time, only to see a dazzling light explode in an instant. The two of them couldn't help but close their eyes. Immediately after, their eardrums seemed to have been shattered. Their ears were filled with a dazzling sound, and they could no longer hear anything clearly. After a while, the two of them opened their eyes again. They raised their heads and saw that the resplendent light in the sky had disappeared and was replaced by a blue sky. The tens of thousands of clones of the 100 transformation Star-Lord had also disappeared, leaving behind only his original body. However, at this moment he was in an even more sorry state. His body and the corners of his mouth were covered in blood, and his face was deathly pale. Half of the four symbols Venerable's body had sunk into the ground, and the thundercloud beast was lying on the four symbols Venerable's shoulder, motionless. It was unknown if it was dead or alive, while Xiaobai was lying at the side with his head drooped. Xianxia's long hair fluttered in the wind, but the clothes on his body had also become tattered, and the hand holding the sword was trembling slightly. However, his eyes were fixed on the 100 transformation Star-Lord. The 100 transformation Star-Lord also raised his head and stared at him. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, I really didn't expect that you guys would have such a powerful force when working together. It's really not easy to kill you guys. Xianxia's heartstrings trembled. He also felt a sense of powerlessness. His side had such a powerful attack, yet he was still unable to completely defeat the 100 transformation Star-Lord. Just how powerful was he? However, at least from the looks of it, his side had the power to protect themselves after all, so the danger was temporarily lifted. 100 transformation Star-Lord, we don't want to be enemies with you. As long as you tell us how to reach the sky beyond heaven from the Buzhou mountain, or bring the people of the sky beyond heaven from the Buzhou mountain to this world, Then we can turn hostility into friendship. Xianxia said in a deep voice. The 100 Transformation Star-Lord's expression turned cold as he asked in astonishment, "You want to go to the sky beyond heaven?" "Exactly. Ah. The sky beyond sky is a mysterious place that has yet to be explored. What are you going to do there?" 100 Transformation Star-Lord asked. In fact, Xianxia didn't know what kind of place the outer sky was. 1,000 years ago he had only heard of this name, and it was almost erased from the depths of his memory. Later, when he heard about the outer sky from the mouth of the 5-clawed golden dragon, he suddenly realized that all the cultivators in this world had been expelled to the outer sky. As for Mount Buzhou, it had disappeared many years ago. Many people thought that Mount Buzhou was just a legend, which was why Xianxia did not immediately think of using Mount Buzhou to let the practitioners return. At this moment he was sure that he was standing on Mount Buzhou, so he naturally wanted to let the cultivators return to this world. Seeing that the 100 Transformation Star-Lord seemed to know a lot about Mount Buzhou, Xianxia was moved and said, "I naturally have a reason to go to the sky beyond sky, but I want to ask you, what kind of place is the sky beyond sky?" The sky beyond sky is very dangerous but also very mysterious. In ancient times, many people were sent to explore the sky beyond sky, but most of them never returned. They only brought back bits and pieces of clues which were not very useful at all. The 100 Transformation Star-Lord frowned as if he was deeply immersed in his memories. Unknowingly, the 100 Transformation Star-Lord's face became ferocious as he said sternly, "The sky beyond sky is a dangerous place. It shouldn't exist in this world, but so many people still want to explore it, thinking that there are huge treasures that are of great value to the cultivators. How laughable. After paying a heavy price countless times, these people still don't give up. They are a bunch of idiots." No one expected that the 100 Transformation Star-Lord would hate the sky beyond sky so much and was very surprised. Xianxia said, "Since you said that the sky beyond sky is so dangerous, does that mean that the cultivators who were expelled to the sky beyond sky are also very dangerous?" "What expulsion?" The 100 Transformation Star-Lord was confused and looked at Xianxia blankly. "Did someone go to the sky beyond sky again?" "Yes, hundreds of years ago, all the cultivators in this world were expelled to the sky beyond sky. We are only the lucky survivors," Xianxia said regretfully. The 100 Transformation Star-Lord heard this and his eyes suddenly widened. He shook his head and said firmly, "Impossible, I have clearly destroyed the stairway to heaven of Buzhou Mountain. How can anyone go to the sky beyond sky?" Xianxia frowned and said, "What do you mean?" "I have already destroyed the stairway to heaven of Buzhou Mountain to the sky beyond sky. It is impossible for anyone to go to the sky beyond sky," the 100 Transformation Star-Lord repeated. When Xianxia heard this, his expression changed and he cried out in panic, Why did you do this? Why did you destroy the stairway to heaven? Why are you so crazy?" Buzhou Mountain was the only way for Xianxia to go to the sky beyond sky, but the 100 Transformation Star-Lord had told him that this way was not going to work. All of his hopes were gone, so how could Xianxia not break down? "Ha ha ha, I am crazy? What a joke. I'm doing this for everyone's sake. What's the point of wasting so many people's lives just to explore this danger zone? That's just courting death, so I might as well destroy the stairway and cut off those people's thoughts. That way there won't be so many innocent people dying," 100 Transformation Star-Lord firmly said. At this moment his aura was completely different from before. He was full of righteousness and selflessness. Everyone looked at him strangely, not knowing why these two completely different auras appeared in him. However, this was not the main point of Xianxia's attention. He was puzzled and asked, "What do you mean by suicide? Where is the sky beyond sky?" "Ha ha ha, you want to go to the sky beyond sky but you have no idea where the sky beyond sky is. What a joke. Fine, I haven't talked so much with anyone in many years. I will be merciful and tell you where the sky beyond sky is." After pausing for a moment, 100 Change Star King went on to say, "Outer sky is a place that was discovered by chance countless years ago. Outer sky is a desolate place, but it hides many unknown dangers. After countless explorations, we have learned that there are very powerful beings in outer sky. These beings are very mysterious and they are very powerful. Every time we search we only get a little clue and we have to pay a heavy price." After that, he stopped and looked like he was in pain. "My parents sacrificed themselves while exploring the sky beyond sky. They left me alone in this world, so I have to destroy the sky beyond sky. I have to destroy the source of this disaster." Everyone was enlightened. No wonder the 100 Transformation Star-Lord hated the sky beyond sky so much. It turned out that his parents had sacrificed themselves in the sky beyond sky, making him an orphan. In that case, the 100 Transformation Star-Lord's life experience was actually quite miserable. No wonder his temper was so bad. Perhaps it was closely related to his experience growing up. Xianxia was not in the mood to pay attention to the 100 Transformation Star-Lord's experience. His focus was on the sky beyond sky. It turned out that there were so many unknown secrets in the sky beyond sky. Since there was such a terrifying existence in the sky beyond sky, wouldn't the expelled cultivators fall from heaven to hell when they went to the sky beyond sky? Wouldn't that be very bad? One should know that in ancient times, there were many supreme experts. If even these experts were so afraid of the realm beyond heaven, then it was simply too terrifying for those expelled cultivators. After all, those expelled cultivators were the remnants of the forces that survived the Great War between the righteous path and the demon race 500 years ago. Their strength was not as strong as before. Entering the realm beyond heaven was like putting fish on a chopping board. Xianxia no longer cared about continuing to think about it, and even more so, did not dare to think about what kind of predicament his sect would encounter. His face was flushed red, and his breathing involuntarily became hurried. The atmosphere became heavy. Everyone was shocked by the truth of the sky beyond sky. The 100 Transformation Star-Lord restrained the pain on his face, looked at Xianxia and asked, "You just said that a few hundred years ago the cultivators were expelled to the sky beyond sky. How is that possible? Didn't I already destroy the heaven stairway?" Xianxia indignantly told him about how New Era used a scheme and then used a formation to expel the cultivators to the sky beyond sky. After the 100 Transformation Star-Lord finished listening, he was in disbelief. How can there be a formation that can reach the sky beyond sky? I have never heard of it back then. What's so strange about that? It must have been after you destroyed the heaven stairway, and then other people thought of ways to reach the sky beyond sky. There are always many ways to achieve your goal in this world, and reaching the sky beyond sky is no exception. Xianxia said without any surprise. The 100 Transformation Star-Lord was silent for a long time before he said, "So it turns out that I have been imprisoned here for so many years, and I have not completely cut off the connection between this world and the sky beyond sky. Why have I done so much? Why is it all useless? Why can't others understand my good intentions? Why? The 100 Transformation Star-Lord shouted towards the sky over and over again as if he was questioning the heavens. Looking at his crazed appearance, the others seemed to be able to feel his despair and grief. A person's painstaking efforts were ultimately proven to be a failure. It was nothing more than a joke. This was not a small blow to anyone. However, everyone finally understood that the 100 Transformation Star-Lord was imprisoned here. This was probably his punishment for destroying the heaven stairway back then. Everyone could not help but feel sad for him. Such a powerful person was imprisoned here because of this matter. Perhaps his starting point was not bad. Just like he said, he wanted to prevent more people from paying the price of their lives. This kind of spirit could not help but make people respect him, and the way they looked at him also changed. Heaven Monk looked at his crazy appearance, but still did not give up and asked, "Is there no other way to reach the sky beyond heaven?" The 100 Change Star-Lord ignored him. He was still immersed in his own emotions, questioning the heavens over and over again. Suddenly he stopped questioning. A terrifying cold light erupted from his eyes as he roared hysterically, "Since all of this is useless, I won't keep my promise from back then. I'm willing to be imprisoned in this damned place. I want to get out, arg." Chapter 419. This cry was very loud and melodious. It spread far and wide as if it was going to reach the 9th heaven and let the heavens hear it. Seeing him like this, everyone was scared witless. If that was the case, he would not continue to be trapped here. If he went to the outside world with his cultivation, no one would be able to stop him. Who knew what kind of storm he would set off? When Li Xiaotian thought of this, her face could not help but become more and more unsightly. She had an impulse to run away and go back to announce this terrifying news to everyone. Xianxia immediately said, "Welcome to the outside world. This world has changed a lot, and the strength of the cultivators is getting weaker and weaker. There should be a strong cultivator to show the world the power of the cultivators." Back then, there was no difference between a cultivator and a martial artist. I don't know how this difference came about, and I don't care about the dispute between a martial artist and a cultivator. I only care about what I have yet to accomplish, and that is to make this world completely lose contact with the sky beyond heaven. The 100 Transformation Star-Lord did not give the Heaven Monk any face and directly said. Xianxia's face changed slightly and asked, "You are also a cultivator. How can you not care about the fate of the cultivators?" 100 Faces Star Sovereign heard this and laughed. "Ha, why should I care? In the past, I destroyed the heavens for them, but they did not appreciate it. Instead, they treated me as an enemy and imprisoned me here. Tell me, how can I care about them? Xianxia was speechless. After a long while, he did not give up and persuaded, most of the people in this world are ordinary people, and there are only a few cultivators. Don't you feel lonely and bored? I have stayed in this damn place for countless years. No one accompanied me, but I still came here. I don't think so. Xianxia's fiery golden eyes still found a flaw. If you were not lonely, would you be so eager to have a doll to accompany you? As soon as these words were spoken, the 100 Star Sovereign's expression changed abruptly. Obviously, these words had struck a chord in his heart. Seeing that, Heaven Monk was overjoyed. He struck while the iron was hot and said, "If you save the other cultivators from the sky beyond heaven, everyone will understand your good intentions after escaping from the sea of bitterness. This way, won't someone understand the efforts you put in all those years ago? This is a good thing for you." The 100 Star Sovereign's expression changed slightly. Clearly, this set of words had moved him again. 100 Star Sovereign, I know you must have a way. Think about it, what other ways do we have to bring the cultivators back from sky beyond, or even reach sky beyond? Xianxia asked tentatively. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign was silent. Everyone stared at him, waiting for his answer. After a long time, the 100 Star Sovereign finally spoke. Of course there is a way. As long as we rebuild the stairway to heaven, we will be able to connect to the outer sky. Xianxia was overjoyed. He couldn't wait to ask, then how do we rebuild the stairway to heaven? When I destroyed the stairway to heaven, it turned into cornerstones and scattered in every corner of the world. As long as we can find these cornerstones, we can rebuild the stairway to heaven. The 100 Star Sovereign said solemnly. Really? Is that simple? Xianxia couldn't believe it. It's simple. The ignorant are fearless. Back then, many people wanted to find these cornerstones, but they all returned without success. If it was so easy to find, the stairway to heaven would have been rebuilt long ago. The 100 Star Sovereign said jokingly. No matter how difficult it is, I must find these cornerstones and rebuild the stairway to heaven. Moreover, this matter should not be delayed. If we delay it for one more day, the cultivators in sky beyond heaven will suffer for one more day. It will be more dangerous. Xianxia said firmly. What does this have to do with me? The 100 Star Sovereign said. 100 Star Sovereign, I ask for your help. As long as you help me, I will agree to any request you have. Xianxia gritted his teeth and said. What do you think you can give me? The 100 Star Sovereign asked disdainfully. What do you want? Your life. Xianxia's expression suddenly changed. He said, what do you want my life for? The 100 Star Sovereign curled his lips and said, that's right. Your life is useless to me. However, I need a servant. Are you willing? Xianxia's expression changed slightly. He was still a proud person. How could he accept being someone else's servant? No. A voice came from the body of the four symbols venerable. Tang Jing jumped out. His face was flushed and he was panting. It was obvious that he was not having a good time. However, he still said firmly, 100 Star Sovereign, stop daydreaming. No one will be your servant. Xianxia gritted his teeth and his expression changed. Brat, I know what I am doing. Tang Jing did not relent. He said, Xianxia, if you really agree to be his servant, then you are no longer the Xianxia I knew. Xianxia's expression changed slightly. He said, 100 Star Sovereign, can you change your condition? I have already given you my condition. Since you are not sincere, then pretend that I did not say anything. The 100 Star Sovereign was unmoved. Isn't it just finding the cornerstones of the stairway to heaven? How many are there? What do they look like? We can just find them. Tang Jing said. Another ignorant junior. Then I will tell you. The cornerstones are heaven and earth celestial stones. There are a total of 99 pieces. These 99 pieces form the 99 steps of the stairway to heaven. When the stairway to heaven was destroyed, these 99 cornerstones turned into light and scattered all over the divine continent. No one knows where they are. 99 cornerstones? Tang Jing's expression changed slightly. With so many cornerstones scattered all over the divine continent, and after so many years, it would be difficult to find them. It would be a huge project. Now you know how difficult it is. If you agree to my condition, I can go and find them myself. After all, I am the one who destroyed the stairway to heaven. I know the cornerstones the best, and it will be easy for me to find them. The 100 Star Sovereign said confidently. Even without you, I can still find them. Tang Jing did not compromise. This 100 transformation star lord had done a good deed back then, but his temperament was constantly changing. Tang Jing was truly unable to grasp him, and could not tell whether he was a good person or a bad person. It was better to be more vigilant when interacting with this kind of person. Xianxia sighed and said, "Brat, you are so confident, but it is easier said than done to find those cornerstones. Then go and be his servant. From now on we are strangers," Tang Jing said resolutely. Xianxia was speechless. Actually, he cared a lot about his image in Tang Jing's eyes, so even if he could endure humiliation in order to reach the sky beyond heaven, he did not dare to harm his image in Tang Jing's eyes. The 100 Change Star Sovereign looked at Tang Jing with a complicated expression, and said, "Strange, so your position in this group of people is not simple. You can actually influence the decisions of others. Who are you?" "I'm just an ordinary person. You don't have to worry about that." "Hee, ordinary people? I don't think so. That big guy is from the Witch clan, right?" The 100 Change Star Sovereign suddenly pointed at Yi Yuan and said, "You know about the Witch clan too?" Tang Jing was slightly shocked. This person was able to tell Yi Yuan's background with a single glance. He was truly extraordinary. "Of course. Back then I had quite a bit of contact with the Witch clan. The Witch clan is a branch of the Nine Li race, born with divine strength and is a rare warrior. However, I seem to have heard you call him Lord Envoy earlier. Why have I never heard of any Lord Envoy in the Witch clan?" The 100 Change Star Sovereign frowned. "That's because you're ignorant." Tang Jing curled his lips and said in ridicule, You dare to say that I'm ignorant? I, the 100 Change Star Sovereign, do not dare to say that I know the heavens and the earth, but I know most of the things in this world. How dare you say that I'm ignorant?" These words hit the sensitive spot of the 100 Change Star Sovereign, and he could not help but fly into a rage. Tang Jing's eyes lit up and said, "Since you claim to be knowledgeable, then let me ask you a question. Why is the Witch clan imprisoned in the 10,000 huge mountains?" "The Witch clan is imprisoned? What a joke, how is that possible?" "The Witch clan is Qiyu's subordinate. Qiyu is extraordinarily valiant, who would dare to imprison his subordinate?" The 100 Change Star Sovereign scoffed. Tang Jing was extremely surprised and asked, "Don't you know about the Battle of Zhuolu?" "What Battle of Zhuolu?" The 100 Change Star Sovereign was at a loss. Tang Jing sighed inwardly. It seemed that the 100 Change Star Sovereign had been imprisoned in the Buzhou mountain before the Battle of Zhuolu, which was why he did not know about this world-famous battle. The Battle of Zhuolu was a battle between Qiyu and the Yellow Emperor. Qiyu was defeated and died, the Nine Li race collapsed, and the Witch clan was mysteriously imprisoned in the 10,000 huge mountains. Furthermore, the primordial heavenly tomb outside the Buzhou mountain is the battlefield ruins of the Battle of Zhuolu. Who knows how many experts were buried there? Tang Jing explained roughly. The 100 Change Star Sovereign's face immediately turned pale. His body swayed and he said with a trembling voice, "You're saying that there was a great battle back then and many people died? And they were buried not far from the Buzhou mountain?" "Yes, I didn't expect that you would not know about the changes in the outside world after being imprisoned in the Buzhou mountain for so many years. Therefore I asked you this question in vain." Tang Jing sighed. One of his goals in coming to the prehistoric heavenly tomb was to find the truth behind the imprisonment of the Witch clan. It seemed like there was no hope. "Who says I don't know? There is only one kind of person in this world who can imprison the Witch clan." The 100 Change Star Sovereign retorted. "Oh, Skywalker." "What Skywalker?" Tang Jing and Xianxia's expressions changed at the same time as they asked in unison. "Haha, looks like you guys also know about the Skywalker. Strange, this is a huge secret. Back then, not many people knew about it, but the two of you actually knew about it with such low cultivations." The 100 Change Star Sovereign said curiously. Tang Jing and Xianxia looked at each other. They had heard about the Skywalker from the five-clawed golden dragon. Tang Jing was the Skywalker, and only the Skywalker could be the emissary of the Witch clan, but why would the Skywalker imprison the Witch clan?